What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to #AskGSM here today, episode 610 for Wednesday, August 6, 2025. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and enjoying your week so far. And no, you don't have to adjust your calendars, adjust your eyesight. We are indeed going live on a Wednesday for the first time in quite a while. I think for the first time since WrestleMania week, actually. I think that was the only other time this year since we first started doing the live streams that we've been back on a Wednesday. So honestly, this might become a normal thing post Mania, post SummerSlam, any weekend I might happen to fall that I might be in attendance for and attend the Raw the next day, just because the travel is hectic and it was quite the hectic weekend, but a very fun and enjoyable one nonetheless. Great to see so many great people and had a lot of fun at both nights of SummerSlam and on Raw on Monday. Of course, not without controversy, including today, without non-SummerSlam related stuff. As in regards to the SummerSlam and future WWE PLEs ending up on Peacock, their future just in general. So much to discuss, including the return of one Brock Lesnar that had a lot of people buzzing and talking and whatnot in the last few days on social media. So we have a lot to get into. Appreciate you guys tuning in on a Wednesday afternoon as opposed to on Tuesday. Like I said, we bumped this back one day just due to the fact I was so exhausted. Coming back from Raw on Monday after already being at both nights of SummerSlam, got almost no sleep on Sunday night. My sleep schedule wasn't entirely terrible over the course of the weekend, thankfully, but coming back on Sunday night into Monday morning, driving back from SummerSlam, and then leaving almost immediately for Raw in Brooklyn, which was great. I don't regret going to that. I have no complaints about attending Raw on Monday night, which ended up being a good show, courtesy of Netflix. Not the show being good, but me being there, so I appreciate the invite. Had an amazing time, but I was extremely exhausted. Still had so much to do yesterday. Still have so much to do now. I haven't watched NXT yet from last night. I have a lot more to catch up on, but I thought it would be easier to do the show today as opposed to yesterday. So I'm still kind of in the process of getting back to 100%. But here we are discussing the weekend. So enough of the rambling. I appreciate you guys tuning in as always. I will get to the chats in just a moment for those that are able to tune in live. Again, I appreciate you. A shout out to our channel members: Alexis, Miss Mod Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve1 at Swerve1 on IG, Daniel Malcolm at letter I, letter M, quarter on X. I'm quarter on X. Mr. Marceau himself, find him on the Twitter machine at RJ_Marceau on X. John Ritland right here on YouTube. Check out his channel at Real Honesty with John Ritland. Richie as well, who I saw in the chat. I'll address in just a moment. Red Planet Wrestling here on YouTube. Check him out. As well as The Average Grunt on Twitter. Follow him on over there. More information on how to become a WrestleRant All Access Pass channel member down below in the description box. Only $5 a month. Get you top billing on shows like #AskGSM, WrestleRant Radio. If you have a question you want to get answered first here on the show before anyone else, or a topic you want me to discuss before anything else on WrestleRant Radio, you get top billing as a WrestleRant All Access Pass channel member, including shout-outs at the beginning and end of every single live stream that we do that I mentioned earlier, early and ad-free access to certain videos before they go live for everyone else, and so much more. So more information on that down below. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post I usually put up on Monday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. If you are sending your question after the fact, but if you are tuning in live, you can drop your question or comment in the chat box in the comment section, and I will include it and answer it as we go along here on today's stream. So again, I appreciate you guys tuning in. At the very least, if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe. All that support is greatly appreciated. You get notified every single time we go live here on the channel, which is typically, this week being the exception, typically Tuesdays and Thursdays, bearing any breaking news here on the stream. So we are going to be live actually 2 days in a row. Today, and unless something changes, Thursday as well for WrestleRant Radio, as we normally do, myself and Mr. Marceau, breaking down SummerSlam weekend. I'll go into more detail about each match and each night. We're not doing that here today. I'll give my overall reaction to the event, 2 nights of SummerSlam, and the Brock Lesnar controversy and the WWE PLEs going to ESPN, or ESPN Plus, whatever it is. We'll talk a lot more about that in greater detail tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. And that's really about it. If you also want to check out, if you haven't already, check out my interview that I posted on Sunday before SummerSlam Night 2 with the reigning Intercontinental Champion who did successfully retain his championship on Sunday night against AJ Styles. Dominic Mysterio. Had an awesome time chatting with him. He was an absolute blast to talk to. It was actually supposed to be a Zoom interview promoting Chase Freedom Unlimited, the sponsor for SummerSlam, but it ended up becoming an in-person interview because we were just at the same hotel anyway. I was at the WWE media junket that morning. Dominic was also there doing media on a different level of the building, and I was like, it would be great if I could do it in person. And they were actually the ones that recommended that, set it up, and we were able to do it in person. So turned out 10 times better than had it been over Zoom. So check that out if you haven't already. I'll put the link to it as well on probably a separate post here on the channel, either today or tomorrow, to encourage you guys to check it out if you haven't already. So I think that's all as far as the housekeeping notes are concerned. Let's address these comments in the chat. Thank you, like I said, to everyone tuning in live and to everyone sending in comments and whatnot in the comment section. I'll get to all of them as we go along here before we get to any of the questions that were sent in ahead of time. And there were a lot of them. A lot of questions sent in ahead of time. We will address and answer every single one in due time. Fernando, what's going on, brother? He said, Buenos Dias, WrestleRant. Buenos Dias as well, Fernando. Thanks for joining. He also said SummerSlam weekend was a lot better than Mania weekend. I would say they were pretty comparable. If I had to choose between the two, I would say SummerSlam weekend was better. I think the Raw after Mania was a lot better. If we're just talking the 2 nights of SummerSlam and the 2 nights of Mania, not including Raw, Raw was actually better than any night of SummerSlam or any night of WrestleMania or SummerSlam. Not this past week's SummerSlam or this past week's Raw, which I thought was good. The post-Mania Raw was one of the best in the years. Excellent show. But if you're comparing the 2 nights of SummerSlam to both nights of WrestleMania, I would probably agree. I think both nights of SummerSlam were better than both nights of Mania overall. Although it really isn't that drastic of a difference. I think night 2 of SummerSlam this year was a lot better than night 1. I thought Mania overall was a good show. The weird thing with Mania, that it honestly was a lot like last year, or a lot like with Mania, to be perfectly honest, where night 1 was solid, it was good, but the best part about it was the main event. That was pretty much the exact same case with night 1 of WrestleMania earlier this year, where the undercard was pretty uninspired and pretty forgettable. The best part of night 1 of Mania this year was that awesome triple threat main event with Punk, Rollins, and Reigns. And then this year was the exact same thing, where the undercard was decent, but the best part about it was the main event involving CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship against Gunther, and that awesome swerve to close the show with Seth Rollins cashing in Money in the Bank. Night 2 was significantly stronger, but some questionable booking decisions and outcomes and the pacing of the show, putting all the Extreme Rules stipulation matches on one night and not spreading them out a bit better was definitely questionable and hurt the crowd on night 2. Although they did end the show on a high note, not necessarily with the Brock return, which was quite the swerve, obviously. No one saw that coming. But the main event itself between Cena and Cody Rhodes, which was great. So I would say it's pretty comparable, but if I had to choose which show is better overall, I would probably go with SummerSlam. Johnny said, bonjour. Johnny, what's going on? He said, SummerSlam was good, but not great. I would agree with that. I would even go so far as to say it was very good overall, because I thought night 1 was good. Night 2 was very good, I thought. Overall, just in my personal opinion. I would not go so far as to say it was great, though. I would agree with that. He also said 8 minutes of talking to start off each night. Definitely unnecessary. It's totally unnecessary, but that's just what they do now, where they open up with the host, they open up with fucking Triple H or Stephanie McMahon. Who gives a shit? I mean, they open up these shows so consistently and so often, it doesn't mean anything. It's not special. I mean, if you want to have someone host a show like a Cardi B, who I don't really give a shit about personally, then fine, I guess. But like Triple H, does he really need to open every Rumble or every Mania, every SummerSlam, every international PLE? It's just unnecessary. So I would completely cut that out. You got the video packages, the cold opens, that's fine. The 10-minute pyros. I kind of expect that more with Mania, and I'm fine with that with Mania, but every other show, the first match starting 10 minutes in, it's just so unnecessary. I would agree with that. He also said, just get straight to the matches. We get good enough talking, or get enough talking on Raw, SmackDown, and the post shows. I mean, wasn't that the whole point of pay-per-views at one point, where you would pay for the pay-per-views so you could avoid the commercials and all the talking and whatnot? The whole point of pay-per-views back in the day, in which you're paying a premium price for, which I guess you aren't really now with the $10 on Peacock, you're actually probably paying more for Raw on Netflix than you are the pay-per-view, shockingly enough. Technically, Netflix is also a pay-per-view, like you're paying to watch Raw on Netflix. But anyway, You would think back in the day, the whole purpose of pay-per-views was to just have the matches and no bullshit, no commercials, but it's actually the exact opposite nowadays, where you still get commercials, even if you have the non, like the higher tier of Peacock where you're getting commercials. It's not like you're seeing matches in the meantime. You're still getting fucking like video packages and shit. So it really doesn't matter if you're paying for the commercials or not. You're still getting minutes and minutes of video packages that you would not have gotten on pay-per-view back in the day. And then all the talking, like you mentioned, just totally unnecessary. I don't even, at this point, especially without the press conferences, I do not watch the post shows. I had it on in the background when we were in the press box at SummerSlam. It was just on the TVs. But I would not go out of my way to watch the post show. I would not go out of my way. I've never gone out of my way to watch the pre-show. I'll tell you that much. Johnny said night one did not even go 4 hours. They had over 30 minutes that they could have used. I mean, did you want it to go 4 hours, to be honest with you? Well, with more time for the matches, I'm not really sure that would have been necessary. He said, sorry if I'm doing a wrestling rant in the chat. What was your match of the weekend? For me, probably Punk and Gunther. I think a lot of people would say Cody and Cena, which I thought was entertaining. I thought Punk and Gunther, honestly, was a much better match. I enjoyed the story they told there. Cody and Cena was a way better match than the Mania match they had. I just was not a fan of all the overbooking. Thankfully, no interference. But when I say overbooking, I mean like the million kickouts of finishers. John Cena hit like fucking 10 attitude adjustments on Cody Rhodes. And Cody hit what was probably 7 or 8 crossroads on John Cena. Completely ridiculous. That I was not a fan of at all. So, I did think that overall, I thought the match of the weekend was Punk and Gunther, in my opinion. Although the Night 2 main event was very good, I thought the triple threat match to open up Night 2 was very good. I thought that was a great match. I thought the Jelly Roll match actually far exceeded my expectations and ended up being a lot of fun. To Jelly Roll's credit, actually revealing on the Cody Rhodes podcast this week that he was actually the one who lobbied to lose that match. He wanted to lose. He told Triple H, I want to lose this match. And he was also the one pinned, too, not even Randy Orton, which was pretty crazy. Props to him for that. Fernando said, which Seth cash-in did you like better, Mania on Roman or SummerSlam on Punk? I mean, the one at Mania 31 will never be topped. I think that is the greatest Money in the Bank cash-in of all time. The one at SummerSlam this year was great. It was a nice swerve. I think a lot of us were expecting it because there had been no update on the Rollins injury in many, many weeks. So for what started out as a great swerve and being like, oh, he's definitely hurt, like he's definitely out, it was a lot less certain, especially when reports started to come out, including from Meltzer, to his credit. Like I said, it was dumb. What I thought was dumb was that if Rollins was actually hurt, and then they filmed that angle at Saturday Night's Main Event to say that, you know, that we're working people with a worked injury while he's also injured, that shit made no sense. That to me was what was very dumb. It looked very real, and I was convinced, so I do apologize for that. But people claiming that he was like, if you think that it was a work the entire time, then I give credit to you. I was more so referring to the people that were going along with that initial Meltzer report, and I think it came from Meltzer, where he had said, oh yeah, they had done that to work an injury, but he was also hurt legitimately, and they were doing this to cover for that injury. That shit made no sense to me. But I thought what they did was cool. It was a great cash-in, but the one at Mania last year, or 10 years ago actually, 10 years, that's crazy, was definitely the better one of the two. But the Ruse of the Century one from SummerSlam was still a great one. Richie, what's going on, brother? He said, I've been waiting 24 hours for the stream. I actually consulted with Richie over text yesterday as far as whether we should do this today or tomorrow, and I think we kind of agreed today would be the better day. So we are going to do a 24-hour stream at some point. I said this to him over text. At some point it will happen. Today is not that day, but eventually, perhaps. Fernando said, which women's championship triple threat did you like better, Mania or SummerSlam? Definitely Mania. The SummerSlam one was very good, to a great match. The Mania one is that to me is a 5-star match. The Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Bianca Belair triple threat, that was definitely the better match. But the SummerSlam one was also good. Richie said, what do you think of WWE PLEs moving to ESPN next year and us now have to pay $30 a month for their dookie service? I think it's garbage. Now, listen, there's a lot more I'll say about this tomorrow on the show with RJ. We'll go into greater detail about it, like I said earlier. I just think in a nutshell, it's trash. Now, I've seen a lot of conflicting reports that if you have cable, you get it for free. You don't have to pay an extra dollar for these pay-per-views. And a lot of people don't. Now, I heard from someone saying that if you have cable or YouTube TV, then you get it for free. But then I heard it's just cable, not YouTube TV or any of these other services that you get ESPN with. And then I also heard it's not necessarily cable. It has to be like Dish Network. Like, it's so fucking confusing. Like, none of this was in the press release, by the way. They did not make any of this clear. The only thing in the press release, which I received, included, the only information that it really covered was just basically saying that the major, if not all, WWE PLEs will be streaming live on the ESPN service going forward. I don't know on VOD where they're going to pop up. I don't know about the content library. There's no word on that. It is a fucking mess. It was already a mess. For those of us that actually care about the history of the product and like to go back and watch old shows, old Raws and whatnot, we still haven't had the slightest clue if anywhere the Raw Netflix library is going to be, when it's going to be expanded and where that shit is going. I mean, is that staying on there? Or the WWE PLEs, like the old ones, going to Netflix? Are they staying on Peacock? We're already paying for Netflix for the Raw shows weekly. Brother, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess right now. And I think it's garbage. I think to go from paying $10 a month for over 10 years since the WWE Network days to then have to, and it's not just like, oh, it's going from $10 to $13 to $15. Bro, this is $30 a month. $30 or $300 a year, which is still fucking dumb. If you pay for Peacock $10 a month, that's $120. To go from $120 to $300 a year, that's the discounted rate. If you pay $30 without doing the annual plan and you actually pay $30 a month, what would that be? 33 times 12 would be $360. So you're only saving $60. Like, it's basically you're paying for 10 months instead of 12, which is not that big of it. Like, it's not that big of a discount. If you just do it month to month, it's $360. Bro, that's insane. I'm sorry. Like, the product is very good, but not good enough to justify those prices and that increase. And the fact that everything is all over the place instead of on one singular service, I don't know, like the WWE fucking network or something like that, makes it that much worse. I just don't understand. And again, the idea that, well, if you have cable and you have nothing to worry about, like, a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't. Someone tried to tell me it's on YouTube TV. I heard from someone else that it's not. Again, they're not making this clear, and the company does not care. I don't know if it's a WWE thing or a TKO thing or both. But they just don't give a shit. It's all about making more money and capitalizing on the buzz, the momentum, capitalizing on the buzz and momentum the company currently has, which I understand. But when you make drastic changes to your product to go from $10 for a pay-per-view to then $30 for a show, and sure, it's not the $60 that it used to be. Me personally, I mean, I was a much younger kid. I was in high school and middle school, and the shows were $50, $60 back in 08, 09, 2010 and shit. I bought maybe 4 pay-per-views. I was not buying the monthly. I was never going to buy the monthly. If the pay-per-views were still $50, $60 a month now, I would not pay for the monthly. That's completely ridiculous. Like, even AEW, I think the shows, honestly, AEW's pay-per-views typically are better than WWE's. Even those, I would argue, are not worth $50 to $60 a month. 4 times a year, maybe. 12 times out of the year, absolutely not. For either company, regardless of the company. I just think that's stupid. In 2025, that is dumb. Especially when WWE specifically has trained you that these shows are only worth $10 a month. I think to go up so exponentially, literally overnight, from whatever the February show is to Mania next year is just fucking stupid. It is stupid. And like I said in my tweet on Twitter, that the bubble was always going to burst eventually, but I think they're just expediting the process here, expediting the process rather, in just rushing, not to their own downfall. I don't want to say WWE's fucked. Like, they're just going to make money hand over fist regardless, no matter what. But everything is a cycle where they're going to upcharge people not only to go to the show, which has been the case for a few years now, but now to watch from home. I mean, to not even go to the show and just to watch it for $10 at your home, you're now paying $30 to do that, which it's just not worth it. And I don't want to hear like, oh, UFC does that, so it makes sense for WWE to do it. 2 things. UFC probably has a much bigger fan base than WWE does overall. And second of all, UFC was never, their pay-per-views, to my knowledge anyway, were never $10 a month. They were never $10 a month. WWE's were. They cannibalized the whole pay-per-view business a decade ago by moving away from standard pay-per-view and moving on to the streaming service that they had. Now, granted, the product was a lot worse 10 years ago, but was it like they went from $50, $60 pay-per-views to $10 a month? I mean, they just weren't making their pay-per-view numbers, their buy rates were so drastically down from what they were. And the ratings are the same way. Like, you talk about how great the product is now. If Raw, I mean, how good the product is now, it doesn't matter how you want to spin it and how much it's improved and they've brought in new fans, all of which are true. But when Raw was still on USA Network up until 8 months ago, its ratings were still at an all-time low. I mean, that's just undisputed. Like, their ratings were not even what they were when the product was quote-unquote terrible, which it was. Compared to 10 years ago, it's like night and day. They chased away so many fans that are not coming back. Regardless of how much better it's been, how much it's improved, it doesn't matter. Those people are not watching Raw, and those people sure as fuck are not watching your pay-per-views. Especially if they're going to be $30 a month. On this new service that me personally, like I also said on Twitter, I have no other incentive to sign up for. Why the fuck would I sign up for this? Aside from the WWE pay-per-views, and I'm probably not even going to sign up for that alone. I'll just probably use a VPN or something along those lines to watch it on Netflix elsewhere. I mean, honestly, like you'll just have to figure something else out. At least with Peacock, to be fair, when they moved to Peacock 4 years ago, the user interface sucks. I mean, it always has, it always will. They never really improved upon that. I will still take Peacock over whatever this ESPN thing is supposed to be. For the sole reason that at least Peacock has other content. I mean, everyone's different, but for me personally, there's a lot of content in there, Monk, Psych, Walker, Texas Ranger, among other shows, that I would watch. I like what they have to offer on Peacock. The ESPN stuff is all sports. I don't watch sports consistently enough for me to give a shit about paying for the service to watch these games and whatever. Then I'm not going to watch. I have no reason to pay for that. I don't have ESPN Plus. I don't care about ESPN Plus. I think at one point I did have it, but I canceled it because it was just a waste because I didn't need it. I think it was included in like my Disney bundle or something like that. But yeah, man, that's I mean, I guess more of an expanded answer than what I was probably aiming to give before we discuss it tomorrow with RJ, but not a fan. Fernando asked the same thing. What are your thoughts on ESPN buying the rights to WWE content? Fucking dumb. Richie with the Love Ziggler and Veer gifts in the chat. The badges. The the little pictures there. Hashtag we want Tyreek. I want Tyreek as well. Alexis isn't here, so Tyreek better pop up one of these days. Johnny said, which TLC match did you like better? The one from SummerSlam or the one from SmackDown? I like the one from SmackDown more. The one from SummerSlam was awesome. That was a great match, but just the more teams, it was more of a mess, and I thought the finish was honestly a bit flat. I didn't love the finish to the SummerSlam one. The Mania match, or the Mania weekend match, it was on the SmackDown after Mania 41. I thought was better, but both matches were excellent. Millennial New, what's going on, brother? He said, hello, Graham. How you doing today? I'm doing well. Still recovering from the weekend, but I'm doing well. Maria said, hello, everyone. Johnny said, let me backtrack a little bit here. He said, the FTR versus Copeland and Christian match did not or doesn't need the tag team titles. It doesn't, but the thing I would agree that it doesn't. They're going to want to put the belts on Copeland and Christian eventually. I do think it would be a bit rushed because I feel like when you do that match, if you do that match in Canada, that shows in a month and a half. So it would be a very quick turnaround time to put the belts on FTR and then to do Copeland and Christian versus FTR for the tag titles like a couple of weeks later and then have Copeland and Christian win. That would be dumb to me. So, I mean, they should win, but not the tag team titles that quickly. And their first match back as a tag team. So, honestly, yeah, I would probably not put the belts on FTR at Forbidden Door. It would make sense if you have, like, MJF, who's apparently no longer part of the Hurt Syndicate. I mean, we'll talk about that later. Someone asked a question about it. But if it cost them the tag titles, that would make sense. But maybe not to FTR. If Cope and Christian versus FTR is the match they want to do it all out, honestly, you don't even really need to. Cope and Christian should be teaming on that show regardless, in my opinion. But it doesn't necessarily need to be against FTR. You could save that match, honestly, for like Full Gear. And All Out instead, in their first match back as a team, they could just as easily face the Patriarchy, or what was the Patriarchy, and Nick Wayne and Chris Sabian. I'm mixing up the two names. Kip Sabian. You can do Kip Sabian and Nick Wayne versus Cope and Christian on that show. And then build to Christian and Cope versus FTR, probably a Full Gear. That's what I would do personally. It's great to see the tag team feuds without the titles involved. I agree, Johnny. Richie said, word on the street as, published by 411 Mania, I believe it was Fightful, who originally reported that that WWE Legal cleared Lesnar to appear on TV and not from the Janelle Grant case. Yeah, so I saw that as well. I want to make something abundantly clear for people, and I will discuss this tomorrow as well when we talk about the Brock Lesnar stuff in greater detail. Just because WWE Legal cleared Brock, because I saw all these comments on tweets and reaction videos. Sure enough, Brock is cleared if he's back, right? Like, no, absolutely. Like, he must be cleared. That's not the case. First of all, what company are we dealing with here? This is WWE, who does, regardless of the regime, they are shady of a lot of stuff. They are responsible or have been accused of or guilty of being shady with a lot of things. Do you honestly think just because their own legal team cleared Brock to be there, that he's free and clear of anything else that he's been accused of? Absolutely not. That just means that the WWE legal team does not think it's that big of a deal for him to be back on TV, which is clearly the mindset based on everything that we've heard from the people in charge and the fact they've eliminated the press conference, which I'll talk about later. The timing on that is just hysterical, because this would have been the weekend to ask a question like that, and someone would have asked. I guarantee you, I was in the press box with other people that I know for a fact, or myself included, would have asked the people that deserve to be asked about it, why Brock Lesnar's back in WWE. Because the bigger question is, what changed? What changed? They took him off TV to begin with a year and a half ago, around Royal Rumble weekend. What changed with Brock Lesnar? Is he no longer guilty? I'm not saying, because the thing is, as a lot of people have also brought up, is a lot of other people have also brought up, he's not being sued, he's not a defendant. True. That is complete fact. But he's also named in said lawsuit 44 times. Is Brock Lesnar the most evil individual on this earth? No. No. And if we were to rank, and it's kind of weird doing this sort of thing, but like, we talked about the Hogan stuff last week, and there's Vince and Flair, like, oh, where does Brock fall in that pecking order? I mean, everyone's human. Everyone makes mistakes. But this Brock thing, first of all, was recent enough. It's not even as if it was 10, 20 years ago. Like, this was only from a few years ago that what he was accused of had happened. And again, everyone keeps bringing up the same 4 or 5 facts. He never met her. He didn't do anything. Sure, but does anyone else not find it weird that the chairman of this company is discussing with one of his top athletes that part of the reason that he would resign is so he could sleep with one of their employees? That's literally a lawsuit all about sex trafficking. I mean, look up the definition of the term sex trafficking, and that falls under that category. Brock Lesnar was involved. Otherwise, he would not have been named. Again, and I'm not even saying when the case goes away that Brock is all of a sudden an angel, or he wasn't. Like, everything that happened was well documented. It's all in texts. Like, it's very clearly real. And it's not even, I don't think they ever really disputed. All the texts aren't real. Like, it's very easy to prove or disprove that sort of thing. She would have nothing to gain, by the way, from Vince, sure, but from, like, naming Brock specifically, like, the things that he was accused of in that lawsuit are pretty fucking specific. She would have nothing to gain from naming him specifically and not, like, The Rock or John Cena. Like, why Brock Lesnar? Unless he was explicitly involved, and she was well aware of that, and he was actually, like, he never denied that he was. They just took him off the show because they wanted to let it blow over. And they felt like enough time had passed for it to blow over, and that's why they quote-unquote cleared him to be on TV. I'm sorry if I'm skeptical coming from a company that, again, is guilty of so much shady shit over the years that I just don't completely believe everything that comes out of their mouth. Just because they tell me he might be cleared doesn't necessarily make him quote-unquote innocent. And again, I'm not even saying, like, first of all, what is he going to do? Apologize or something? Like, nothing's really going to make that go away unless the lawsuit gets settled. That is my bigger thing. Until that lawsuit, you would think, it's just not a good look for the company. You would just logically think, until the lawsuit gets settled, even if it's a settlement, I don't think Vince is going to win, quote unquote. And I'm not even saying Janelle Grant's going to necessarily win, because the whole reason why she spoke up in the first place was because Vince was not paying her what he agreed to pay her. I'm not even saying she's completely innocent. Like, there's a whole lot of discussion there, which we've had before here on this show and in other shows and whatever. I'm just saying The lawsuit is still active. He's named 44 times in the lawsuit. Why would you have him on television in the meantime? It's not as if Vince is on television. I mean, they fired Vince pretty quickly. Granted, what Brock is accused of or whatever, his role in this whole thing is not nearly as bad as Vince, obviously. I'm just saying, if he is as involved, like to the degree that he is, I would probably personally, if I'm a company, I would hold off on using this individual until after it's settled. And I can't imagine this would go on for another 5 years. Like, it probably will be settled out of court or an arbitration or just be settled. Like, they'll probably pay her some sort of lofty settlement. At some point within the next year or two, if I had to take a guess, I'm not a law guy, a legal guy. I have no idea. I'm just taking a guess here. I'm just taking a shot in the dark. I would just wait for that to blow over completely, like legally wise, until you bring this man back. At that point, if people don't like it, that's totally fine. You think he's a sleazebag, you think he's a fucking weirdo, I get it. I totally get it. But again, the lawsuit is still active. Just fucking wait. There's no reason, even from a company standpoint, even from the standpoint of it being a product, there is no value in using Brock right now. Yeah, sure, you get the Brock Cena match, but do you need to do that right now? No, you don't. That's what I'm saying. I just don't really think it's worth the headache for WWE. Clearly, they think it is because they're not answering any questions about it. They don't give a shit. They don't hold themselves accountable or don't really need to answer to anyone or anything other than how great their product is and how much they're doing, how well they're doing financially, all this other garbage. They clearly don't give a shit. Otherwise, they wouldn't have brought him back in the first place. They took him off the show. I mean, it would have been bad enough had he still been on the show when he was named in the lawsuit. But what changed between January of 2024 and October or August of 2025? The only thing that changed was that he went from being implied to being involved because they didn't actually name him by name in that lawsuit. It was just kind of like, not hearsay, but it was heavily suggested it was Brock, to then explicitly being named in the lawsuit by Janelle Grant's team that it was Brock Lesnar. Like, they literally name him by name. I don't know, man. That just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And I like Brock Lesnar. I want to see him on the show. I think he is an asset to the company. I'm not saying he has no value. I'm just saying it's not as if like the product is so bad and they have no stars. They have no choice but to break glass in case of emergency and bring back Brock Lesnar. They don't. They have enough star power and other people they could be using to face Cena at this point for big matches. Then it is really worth to deal with this headache right now. The worst part for me is that, again, they don't really need the guy. Like I said, why not use this as an opportunity for Cena to face other newer people before he leaves? I personally have no desire, honestly, to see another Cena Brock match. I've seen my fair share of those matches. And you could say the same thing with Punk and Orton, but listen, I thought it was cool to see those matches one more time, especially with Orton being in his hometown of St. Louis and Cena was the heel. The whole Cena heel thing was a complete failure, obviously, but him and Punk, him and Orton, to me, were more must-see matches than Cena and Brock one more time. What does that match even look like? Cena's so limited nowadays, and that match at SummerSlam was great, sure. Are they going to go out there and have the match from Extreme Rules 2012? I don't think so. I mean, these guys were in their athletic primes 20 years ago. What are they going to do in 2025 that would be better than what they did at SummerSlam 2014 or Extreme Rules 2012 or whatever else they could have done in the 2000s, including at Backlash 2003? The answer is nothing. Brock's just going to go in there and beat John Cena. What is gained from that? I'd rather Cena be facing, whether he beat them or not, people like Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Carmelo Hayes. Like, give me him against new people. I know they've done that before with him and Austin Theory in Solo, and I mean, that wasn't really Cena's fault. Him burying Cena or him burying Theory in that promo really was Cena's fault. I mean, that was just completely dumb. And they didn't benefit from those wins, but that's entirely WWE's fault for not booking those guys as bigger deals coming off of those wins in 2023. Did that scare them, and that's why they don't want John Cena to face fresh faces aside from Cody Rhodes? It has all been rematches and retreads of stuff we've seen before. Even the Cody matches, we've seen them face off before. Not in a very long time, and I'm glad we got the feud, but I want to see him with Gunther or Breaker, LA Knight. Give me new shit, not the same old stuff that's not really going to accomplish anything. Anyway, rant over. Fernando said, what are your thoughts on the return of the Beast? I just discussed that. He also said, did you and Alexis get good seats? It was just me. She did not go. I went solo for SummerSlam. She watched from home. I was in the press box. I mean, obviously it was far up. It's not an amazing view. It's not really about the view though. It's about the comfort of being in the press box where I could still work and watch the show, eat, and do all this other stuff, which I will always prefer over being in the seats at this point, which I enjoy. And being in the seats is cool. I was in the crowd for WrestleMania. Got a great view, courtesy of Clash of Clans. Shout out to them. But this time I was back in the press box, and it was fun. It was fun to be there for it. Not like the best view of it by any means, but to me, it's always the best seat in the house for someone like me who could use my laptop and eat and watch the show simultaneously. Johnny said, which TLC did you like better? I already answered this. I think I just skipped over the Fernando one from earlier. My bad. I think I didn't answer Fernando's question about the seats thing. I guess not. So going forward now, Johnny said WWE should rename NIE, No Integrity Entertainment. He also said Top Flight should be the tag team to defeat the Hurt Business for the tag titles. No. Top Flight, listen, I like the team. They've been around for so long now. They've just been so far damaged as far as being labeled as just stepping stones in an enhancement team. I just have no desire to see them be the team. I mean, they've just been losers for so long now, and it's not even like with Private Party. They were losers for a while too, and then they won the tag titles, and their reign sucked because they were barely on television. But, like, they had that equity of being there since day one. Top Flight hasn't been there since day one. Close to it. I don't know. I mean, it's just not the same thing. No thanks. I'd rather see, like, FTR take the titles. Honestly, even the Outrunners, for as ridiculous as that is, they're at least more over and more on the they're on the show more than Top Flight at this point. Even Jet Speed. I know they lost that tag team match at All In for the tag titles, but even they're a better team or a better choice to take the titles over Top Flight, in my opinion, at this current stage. Richie said, also, Graham, let me know when you and Alexis are free. I will. I was thinking about it earlier today. I will definitely look at the calendar, Richie, and we will let you know. Sometime this month will definitely happen. We have a lot of stuff going on over the course of the month. But for sure, we will definitely see you this month at some point. That is still on. I still owe you that. So I will see you soon for sure. Johnny said AEW, let's see, Forbidden Door should rename AEW and Friends. It's not really much of a Forbidden Door this year, is it? I looked at the card that they have so far. It's a good card, but it's all like AEW matches. It's not really anything involving New Japan at all. And I think the current thing, the issue with that is that I guess it's going on during the G1 Climax. Then maybe they shouldn't have scheduled it for the exact same time. Probably not the best call. Just wait till next year. Just don't do it at all. Because every pay-per-view is fucking Forbidden Door. They have people from New Japan and CMLL on their shows all the time. It's not really special anymore as much as it was back in 2022. Johnny said, what is your hype level for Brock Lesnar versus John Cena and Brock versus Gunther? Lesnar and Cena, very little. I know they've had quality matches in the past. That was never my favorite feud at all. Like, they had great matches at SummerSlam 2014. That was a squash, but I love that. Extreme Rules 2012 was awesome. The Night of Champions rematch in 2014 was fine. That was like trying to be what they did at SummerSlam, and it just was not the same thing, and it was lame. Terrible finish, too. They then did a triple threat of the Rumble with Rollins, which Rollins largely carried, but the match was awesome. One of the best triple threats I've ever seen. I just don't really care about seeing, in 2025, another Brock and Cena match. Just given the respective styles in 2025, that's not a match I care to see. Brock and Gunther would interest me, as long as it's not Brock just destroying Gunther for most of it and then beating him. That would be fucking terrible. Brock would have to lose, and it would have to be an actual match, and Brock actually having to do shit where it's a competitive match and not just going in there and having a 5-minute brawl. Like, it's got to be an actual match. If he wasn't doing that 10 years ago, he's probably not doing it now. But, I mean, I would be much more interested in that match than Brock and Cena at this current stage, in my opinion. Alexis said, happy Wednesday. Johnny said, Extreme Rules might come back next year. Fuck no, I have no interest in seeing that. I wouldn't be surprised because they want to sell people on these pay-per-views. Oh, they're special. That's why they started doing Extreme Rules in the first place. That's why they started doing Hell in the Cell and Bragging Rights and Breaking Point and Elimination Chamber and all these other shows. They completely revamped their pay-per-view schedule in 2009-2010 because they wanted those gimmick pay-per-views. Didn't make a difference. Their pay-per-views either stayed steady or went down. Didn't make a lick of a fucking difference. The Extreme Rules show shit was just awful. I mean, some of those events were great, but a lot of the matches weren't even Extreme Rules. So what was even the point? SummerSlam Night 2 is basically as Extreme Rules as it gets. 5 of the 6 matches were all stipulation matches, except for Dom and AJ. It was just like you could space them out better. Not everything has to be a street fight or this or that. It was definitely excessive. Johnny said Triple H not burying wrestlers today, but he is burying the time to allocate to them. I suppose so. Maria said doing away with press conferences around the same time they decided to bring back Brock was a convenient and a cowardly move. Listen, I don't work there, so I can't tell you the exact reason. I would bet everything. I would bet my life on the fact, which might be excessive. That might sound a tad extreme. I would bet anything to tell you that they canceled them this past weekend and going forward, but specifically starting this weekend because Brock was back. And they knew that. And now we know why they canceled it now. Honestly, the cancellation of the press conferences period it bothers me because they could be useful when people actually ask questions. And there were a lot of instances where people actually asked questions. But unfortunately, Triple H doesn't know how to fucking answer them. So it would just make themselves look worse. But it would also be an opportunity for people to ask dumb stuff. And they kind of were marred by dumb questions and people trying to get their own shit over and interact with the wrestlers. It was awful and very cringy, unfortunately. And trying to get their own shit in and be cute and be like, oh, I acknowledge Roman Reigns. Like, the amount of shit that you would see on those press conferences with that sort of stuff was just so fucking bad. So, inevitably, they were going to get canceled. That's not really... It is disappointing because, again, it could be used for something positive, but I feel like there was more negative shit coming out of it with people not asking the right questions and the right people not getting called on. So the people that would actually ask questions instead, it turned into a giant joke. It's just the fact that it was canceled this weekend, not Mania, not Money in the Bank, not Evolution. It was SummerSlam. Why do you think that is? I mean, come on. The same weekend as Sex Pest comes back. Come on. That's not a convenient. That's not convenient. That is intentional. And anyone arguing otherwise just clearly has their head in the sand. Johnny said Cena versus Cody was a here comes the pain match. And what, the video game? Like in terms of video game, in terms of hit the finisher a million times, I guess it was. Jelly Roll is a mark confirmed. I mean, we already knew that. Jelly Roll we already knew was a mark. I already knew he was a mark. I didn't care about his involvement in the show going into the show, but he ended up having one of the better matches of the entire weekend. Jelly Roll versus Logan Paul in a Krispy Kreme street fight should be next. Johnny, you joke about that, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens at some point down the road where they bring back Jelly Roll for a singles match and it's sponsored by Krispy Kreme or some bullshit sponsor. That would not shock me whatsoever. Richie said, I was saying to myself that the Rollins injury made LA Knight look sort of like a chump, so I was glad that they had him confront Seth this past Monday night on Raw. It would have been completely stupid if LA Knight beat Rollins and then Rollins, they just never went back to that. I mean, LA Knight was the last person to beat Seth Rollins on the show at Saturday night's main event back last month. They had to go back to that, so I'm glad they did. Richie said 24-hour sleep stream. You make it, I know you're saying like we can sleep during the stream, but you make it sound like I would be sleeping for 24 hours, at which point I would probably be dead. So hopefully not. But I know what you mean. Fernando says, did you like the way Cena turned babyface on SmackDown? No, I thought it was fucking dumb. Why not just wait until the pay-per-view? I think they did it on SmackDown because they didn't. Listen, if you didn't bring back Brock, you could have just closed the show with John Cena going babyface and then endorsing Cody and then moving on. But they did it on SmackDown knowing Brock was coming back. So then the Cena babyface turn, which was already cemented on Friday, would be immediately like negated or completely forgotten about by Brock coming back. So that's why they did it on SmackDown. I don't agree with it. Don't bring back Brock. Just have Cena turn babyface on Sunday and move on. But they didn't do that. Johnny said streaming services are lower bills for a few months to keep you or bring you back. Maria said, I think the Cena babyface turn was anti-dramatic, or I think anticlimactic is what you mean, and lame, but the match was excellent. Yeah, whatever we got on SmackDown from Cena was terrible. He was like, I wasn't trying to ruin wrestling. Like, you guys know that. Like, brah. Like, you're trying to make us forget. Like, you're trying to do the whole Men in Black thing where it's like, oh, like, don't even acknowledge the last 6 months of terrible storytelling that never made sense to begin with. Like, we were talking about how it didn't make sense back in March. The execution was awesome, and I was excited to see what they would do. But nothing about that Cena turn made the slightest bit of sense. I shit on it going into it. I shit on it coming out of it. And I'm shitting on it now. It was fucking dumb. It was one of the dumbest storylines this company has ever done. It made zero sense. The execution overall sucked. The execution of the turn was great. The execution of the actual run was terrible. He's just not a great good guy or a great bad guy. I feel like it would have been better also 10 years ago when he can actually be there and work more and wrestle more and not have to pop up every 3 weeks. Maria said, WWE is reverting back to the shady days of Vince McMahon, in my opinion. I mean, they've always been a shady company. I mean, let's not beat around the bush here. They were definitely worse under Vince. It's just that their mentality of what Vince kind of stood for never really left, at least not entirely. Got to backtrack a little bit here. A lot of great people in the chat. Thank you for all the activity. I will not spend too much time on all of these comments because I do want to get to the questions, and we have a lot of questions, like I said. And we are already about almost 50 minutes in, so again, appreciate you guys tuning in. But let's see. What else was the next comment? Johnny said, I canceled Netflix once they changed their password sharing stance. Yeah, I know. I see people still bring up that tweet from 2017 from Netflix that said love is sharing a password, and then they stopped doing that like recently. It's just that's what they do. They say a certain thing to kind of build that goodwill with its fan base, with its consumer base or whatever, and then they just go back on it. That's just what companies do. I can't say I'd be shocked. Fernando said, who should be Cody's first title defense? I would say Randy Orton, but like, what did he do to deserve it? Maybe he wins a number one contenders match. I want Orton to go heel. SmackDown needs heels. They have Cody, they have Orton. As far as top stars, they have, is LA Knight on Raw now? Like, who even knows? He was on SmackDown. Solo Sikoa, absolutely fucking not, but thankfully, I mean, I say thankfully, but, you know, I guess they could still do it. He is the United States champion, so keep him out of that picture. Jacob Fatu would be cool. I know he lost at SummerSlam, but maybe elevate him to the main event. Don't beat Cody, but, you know, that would be a good match to do. I would say Drew or Randy. I've always said Drew. Drew would be cool. I would wait until Drew takes the title from Cody to do that feud. I think Drew should be champion again for more than 5 minutes. So I would do that feud personally. I don't know. It's tough. Like, do you do the Orton feud first? Because that people have said, oh, that should be at SummerSlam. That should be at Mania, blah, blah, blah. I don't think Orton should take the title from Cody. I think it should be Drew. So honestly, I'd probably go Randy first, including a heel turn from him. And then you go to Drew around Royal Rumble Mania season. Let's see. Grunt said, man, I leave town for a few days and things get crazy. Grunt, hope you enjoyed your time away. Fernando said, did you enjoy Raw last night on Monday night, you mean? I did. I enjoyed being there. I thought it was a good show. Not a great show, but I thought it was a good show. Maria said, WWE told me by signing Brock Lesnar, they don't care about women. Yeah. I'm not saying they don't care about women, but I don't think they're really thinking about the optics of this. Because again, the whole Brock Lesnar thing, it's not just about how you and I feel. It's about how their own female locker room feels. I mean, again, he was involved in a situation, regardless of whether he met her or not. He never met her in person. But the fact that this even happened, where he was discussing with Vince that, oh, maybe part of the package of me resigning back in 2021 is me sleeping with this hot employee that works for your company. Now, again, she wasn't a women's wrestler, but that isn't to say that they haven't done that before. I mean, you hear Ashley Massaro's name brought up, and that whole situation wasn't with management. It was with like a doctor, quote unquote, on their tribute to the troop store in Iraq, I believe. But management did nothing about it. They turned their head, and then, unfortunately, not right afterward, but many years later, she ended up taking her own life. I'm sure that being a contributing factor to her trauma, among other things that she experienced after that during her time in WWE. I'm sure there's a lot of situations that we're not even aware of. The only reason the Janelle Grant thing was even brought up, again, this was years. This was like a multi-year process, and the only reason we even know about it was because she spoke up. Was because she wasn't getting paid. She wasn't getting paid. That's the only reason we even know about it. So, yeah. I think that they should take the feelings. I mean, listen, maybe they poll the women honestly and not just because they're not going to say, oh, I have no issue with it. And they're just going to say that because they don't want to lose their job. But like, I would love to know behind closed doors what Rhea is saying to Buddy Murphy, her boyfriend or husband or whatever it is at this point. How she feels about Brock coming back. Does she give a fuck? I'm not saying Rhea would be affected personally, but how does she feel from a morality standpoint about them signing? I mean, if you ask them in an interview, they're not going to say anything about it, obviously, but I would love to know how personally they feel. If they don't care, then who am I to speak up on their behalf? You know what I mean? But I can guarantee you the morale amongst the women specifically is probably like, really? Come on. He's still involved in an active lawsuit regarding sex trafficking with a female that worked for this company a few years ago. What are we doing here? Johnny said RJ cares about ESPN Plus. Well, we can ask him tomorrow when he's here on the show. Grunt said, I'm doing well, Fernando. Oh, he's talking to Fernando. Got back from a visit with his pop, he said. Well, I hope you enjoyed your time away, Grunt, like I said. Fernando said, I'm okay with FTR versus Cope and Christian for the tag team titles. Yeah, I don't think it needs to be for the tag titles. Not at this point. And Grunt said, yeah, them teaming at all is the draw. It doesn't matter who it's against. I think the Pencil is getting back together against the Hurt Syndicate. Who is the Pencil? The Pinnacle? Is that what you mean, Fernando? Not the Pencil? Grunt said, oh, wow, they ditched the press conference. They did. They got rid of them. I mean, they told Sean Ross that for the foreseeable future. I don't think they're coming back. I think they're just done. I don't think it would look even worse, honestly, if they just got rid of it for this weekend. I think they're just gone, period. Johnny said Conor McGregor is back in the testing pool. The UFC and TKO don't know the terms of the moral compass. I can't really speak about Conor. I don't really know what he's guilty of or involved in. I kind of lost track of him a long time ago. So, I mean, a big thing to remember, too, is if you are a big enough star, whether you're Brock Lesnar, Conor McGregor, it doesn't matter. There are exceptions to certain things. I'm not saying it's okay. I think it's gross. But listen, when you are a big enough star, I mean, with a lot of things, really, not even just morality things, but like, for example, and I think their health, honestly, like, I don't know. I feel with someone like Edge, Paige, Daniel Bryan, their health, like, they would have never cleared them 10 years ago, but all of a sudden they're clearing them. Yeah, their bodies improved, but they were also big enough stars for WWE to take a risk on letting these people wrestle again, or in AEW as well. Jason Jordan was never really that much of a star. Like, he could have been. We'll never really know. But he's not Edge. He's not Daniel Bryan. They'll never let him wrestle again. They'll never let Tyson Kidd wrestle again. If he was a big enough star, like Tyson Kidd really wanted to do a one-off, if he was an Edge, then they would have let him do it, I guarantee you. And Tyson Kidd's injury was a lot worse than Edge's. But they would have let him wrestle, I guarantee you. But they're not big stars. So like with the Brock and Conor thing, they're big enough names. They will look past almost anything to bring these people back into the limelight. The Hogan stuff is a prime example. Hogan was a big enough star where he was able to not overcome really, but like WWE brought him back eventually, despite the fact he wasn't really held accountable. He didn't really hold himself accountable for the shit that he said and did. They brought him back, which was always going to happen. But if it was someone else that isn't as big of a star, like Del Rio, for example, the guy's a piece of shit. He was never that big of a star to justify them bringing him back. I mean, and they brought him back in 2016 or 2015, but that was before shit really got worse with the whole, him getting sued and the women beating thing and whatever, among other things, I believe. But he's a headache. He's not worth it. He's a fucking loser. He's not a big star. But Brock's a big enough star to where he actually can maybe move the needle for them. Who knows? And they feel like, it's worth it. We'll deal with the headache that he can bring, that he brings PR-wise. Richie said, the Piss Incarnate. That's a great nickname. Daniel, what's going on, brother? Salute to you as well. Thanks for joining. Great to see you as always. Johnny said WWE should bring back Velveteen Dream. No thanks. Again, he was never that big of a star to really... He could have been, had he not fucked up, but it's been long enough. Does Velveteen Dream really have any value? Like, he hasn't even worked anywhere else. That's why they have Tessa Blanchard back in TNA. I mean, that's a similar situation where... Did she ever really hold herself accountable for the shit that she said? I think she apologized to the locker room when she came back. I think. But first of all, she's a great wrestler. And if she was anyone else, they probably wouldn't have welcomed her back. She left the company on such terrible terms back in 2020. Why would anyone ever have them on their roster again? But she was talented enough and brings enough value that TNA thinks that she brings to their company that they're willing to look past that and bring her back and make amends. Most other people would never, they would not make that same exception. Fernando said, you have every right to be skeptical. WWE and Endeavor have a long history of being shady. Exactly. Nick, what's going on, brother? He said, I say this all the time to Lindsay. The WWE is also into nostalgia right now. Everything is nostalgia, baiting for views. Yeah, they're big into this. I mean, they always have been. They always have been. I mean, if you watch for any stretch of time, you would know that they bring back people all the time. And that's fine. But you also have to simultaneously be building newer stars. Brock got a big pop on Sunday. I mean, a lot of us who are skeptical of this sort of thing, I mean, I would be out there. I mean, I don't know if I'd be booing Brock. I would probably be like, I'm just kind of conflicted on the whole thing. I just feel kind of weird watching. I'm not going to be out there like, oh, fuck Brock Lesnar. Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm just kind of like, Like when he came out on Sunday, I was like, whoa, like this is crazy. I kind of laughed a little bit. I'm like, I can't believe they actually did that. But a lot of people will mark out. And you know what, like I said on Twitter, if you're happy that he's back, if you're excited, I'm not going to poo-poo on your parade. But I also would not recommend anyone come to WWE's defense and say that, oh, you're a woke pussy or whatever because you don't want Brock Lesnar back and he was innocent. Like they're defending this guy or this company that doesn't give a shit about you, clearly. I would just recommend not doing that. Maria said, poor Miss Grant. Richie said, everyone's celebrating Lesnar's return, streamers in particular, and those defending him in YouTube and Twitter comments are so weird they completely missed the point and clearly don't like WWE. Yeah. I've just seen so many reactions to people going nuts over it. Some of them is weird. If you're happy that he's back, I mean, to each their own, I guess. Listen, I like Brock. I like Brock a lot. I'm always happy to see him back. He brings a certain energy to these shows and a vibe and aura to these shows that a lot of people just don't have. But I just feel weird having to support him and watching these shows and whatever and being in his presence if he has a history of kind of being a weirdo, which a lot of these wrestlers do, of course. And you either look past it and embrace it or whatever, you just ignore it. But it hasn't been settled yet. Like, wait until after that's over, and then we can talk. Richie said shameful as far as that's concerned. Johnny said, if you are a star, it doesn't matter what criminal activity you've been involved in, you are welcome back in WWE. It's true. I just got done talking about that. Maria said, if it's true that Cena asked for Brock Lesnar, would that tarnish how you feel about him? Tarnish might be too strong of a word. I think it would definitely make me think a little bit less of him. I mean, listen, they're friends. But like these, you also have, I mean, I honestly, Cena's comments about Vince also made me think twice about Cena. I'm not saying the guy's a saint. He's a really nice dude. John Cena's a great person. No one is perfect. He literally has said that many, many times, including himself. But for him to make these comments in interviews about Vince specifically saying, oh, I'll love him for the man that he is. I mean, as if this man is not a fucking monster in real life. I mean, come on, bro. Read the fucking room. You know what I mean? Like, not even talking about the victims. It's always about how much I love Vince. I love Vince, you know. I have so much love for him and what he did for me, blah, 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 blah. Me, Vince. Never talking about the actual victims and the people affected by it. I'm like, fuck you, dude. I mean, again, I know what he means. It's just not a good look. I'd rather you just say no comment. Like Tiffany, for example. God bless her. She was on Logan Paul's podcast the other day. I don't know why Logan Paul would ask her this, because what relationship would she have with him? It was kind of strange. It kind of felt like he was just kind of like asking clickbaity questions that they can fucking tag on social media. She gave this hilarious answer, which I respect her for. He asked her, do you want to talk about Hulk Hogan? And she said, not really. I don't want to get canceled. Now, maybe she's a big Hogan fan. Honestly, I kind of feel a little bit bad for her because maybe she's a Hogan fan, but she doesn't want to be able to say that because people would shit all over her for saying that, which I also don't really agree with. It was the same thing with the Hogan thing where if you're really sad or devastated that he passed, I'm not going to sit here and say that you're a loser or you should be ashamed. Didn't you know he was a racist? Like, everyone has their own feelings and experiences with different people. But it goes both ways. If you were, really sad about him dying and then you were on people's case about how dare you bring up the negative stuff as if it didn't happen. I mean, come on, stop. I mean, we have to acknowledge the positive and the negative of the man's life for as controversial as he was. But also on the other side of, like, if you were, let's say, happy that Hulk Hogan passed, which I would not say I was at all. I was definitely, I was sad to see him go because I grew up a Hulkamaniac, and him as a person, very problematic, but it was still a big loss for the wrestling community. But anyway, I don't think that if you're someone that was, happy to see him go, that you should be shitting on other people's parade by saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be sad about this," blah blah blah. Like, I just think controlling how other people feel about things is just fucking weird. Unless that the way that the person is feeling is problematic. Otherwise, I don't really like. Who cares how other people react? You know what I mean? Like I said, I think people celebrating that Brock is back, little strange, while completely moving on from the fact that he's involved in a lawsuit right now, little odd. But at the same time, I'm not going to tweet these people or talk to these people and say, you should be ashamed of yourself. Who cares? You know what I mean? For the same reason, those same people should not be on my case or anyone else's about, oh, why he's not guilty. He was cleared. Yeah, by their own legal team. What does that even mean? Anyway, Richie said they could have used his daughter. No one would have been able to tell the difference. Brock's daughter instead of Brock himself. Yeah, they're so similar looking. I don't think people would have known the difference. Nick said, meanwhile, WWE announced all this new shit today to cover the heat they are receiving. The funniest thing about that honestly might have been part of the reason why they did that. I think they were always going to announce this anyway, because it's like there's a lot of buzz around the company right now coming off one of their big PLEs. I feel like they were always going to do this. The funniest thing, if that is the case, like, oh, let's pivot to announcing our new streaming deal for next year so we can get the heat off of us from the Brock stuff. And it's not even a positive move. Like, it would be one thing if they announced something really cool to kind of change the overall reaction to WWE right now from being negative to positive. It made it worse because this news that they announced was fucking dumb. It's just stupid. So it actually made things worse where people are given even another reason to not support the product or support the company and sign up for this shit. They're like, no, I made the right decision by tuning out and not tuning back in because this shit is terrible. Like, why would you outprice some of your consumers by moving it from $10 a month or less than that if you have the commercial free or the commercials version, that tier, and then $30 a month? And again, I don't want to hear this bullshit. Oh, if you got cable, doesn't matter. How many people have cable? At this point, how many people actually have cable? Does it include YouTube TV, which a lot of people have? I don't think it does. People have told me that it does. It's so confusing. They don't care. They want you to sign up. And Nick Khan also saying, by the way, very funny, him going so far as to say, well, all the WWE Network people jumped over from there to Peacock. Why wouldn't they do the same thing to this? Because it's $20 more expensive, you fucking idiot. Like, it's not even remotely the same thing. Of course they went from the WWE Network to Peacock. It was the same price. It was the same price for more content. Less WWE content, because they didn't upload everything from the network onto Peacock, which is terrible. But they did upload, like, you had there's all those other shows that you can watch on Peacock. So it was basically the same amount of money for more stuff. That was a better deal. I was happy with the Peacock thing. I mean, it was sad to see the network go. That sucked. But it being on Peacock, I was cool with. But now it's like I'm paying more for less? It's ridiculous, man. It makes no sense. Makes no sense. Richie said, Cena got interviewed by some mark on the street on Monday. I watched the video, actually, earlier. And he said, they asked him about Lesnar, and Cena said, they deal him and I'll play him. Seemed like either a dodge of the question or it was a WWE thing. Yeah, I think this whole notion when Triple H said on that post-show, oh yeah, John Cena, he didn't say this word for word, but he kind of implied that John Cena requested to bring Brock back. Has John Cena ever politicked anything to ever go over or to, I mean, we thought he did, but he's made it extremely evident in the last 10 years specifically. He says nothing. Whatever they have him do, he goes along with. Whether, I don't know if he likes it or not, he never has anything negative to say about anything, which is questionable. But he never lobbies for anything. He just ends up in whatever they put him in. He's the ultimate soldier for that company, which is why he's had so much success in that company, because he just does whatever they tell him to do. Doesn't really stand up or doesn't lobby or politic like Hogan would. He's like the antithesis of Hulk Hogan in that way. No, I don't think it was a John Cena thing to bring Brock back. And also they could have said no, too. Like, if they thought, oh, yeah, like Brock's kind of like out of the picture at the moment. We can't really use him at the moment. Let's not put him in the, let's not bring him back just so you can work with him. They would have said that. This was entirely a WWE thing. John Cena could have been a factor, but I believe what he said on the street. It was basically him saying, it was so funny what he said. He was basically like, yeah, bro, I don't know why Triple H said that. Like, this was not my fault. Go blame them. I don't need this heat right now. Don't fucking blame me. Just the throwing under the bus was just so funny. Johnny said Brock Lesnar versus Cena can be Hell in the Cell, stretcher, or last man standing. No. John Cena would not emerge unscathed in any of those matches in 2025. Absolutely not. Fernando said, is the Cena heel turn the worst heel turn ever? I don't know if it's the worst heel turn, because the thing you have to remember is the execution was so great, because it was surprising. We never thought it would happen. The heel turn itself was great. The heel run is up there with one of the worst botches in company history. Like, to me, I don't know I don't think it's worse, because the other one killed an entire company. The invasion, I think, is still probably number one. From a storyline standpoint, I think John Cena's heel run might be number two. How do you mess up a John Cena heel run? I mean, almost everything about it was poorly executed. Some of the matches were good. I liked the Punk match, the Orton match. I thought was a lot of fun. His promos were terrible. He was still out there looking like a goof, never changing his attire. Did not change the music. He changed the graphics. Ooh, the graphics. Like, who cares? Who gives a shit? And then he was barely even really there. They waited 3 weeks to follow up on it. The logic never made sense. They completely moved on from it. Even the babyface turn was botched. They did it at the SmackDown before instead of at the pay-per-view itself. Garbage. Garbage, man. So worst heel run? Maybe. Heel turn? No, because the turn itself was amazing. The heel run itself, it's up there. I don't know if it's the worst heel run ever. I'm sure there's worse. But it was still pretty bad. Richie said John Cena versus Brock Lesnar and pee yourself on a pole match. Vince Russo would be beside himself for that. Oh, yeah. I think Brock Lesnar would certainly win in a landslide, by a landslide. Daniel said it's just Graham Oos, LOL. It's just cream. Yeah, it's just me, Oos. It's just cream. Exactly. That's my nickname, right? Just cream. That actually sounds really weird. I should probably not say that. Johnny said Brock Lesnar should face wrestlers named the judge, the lawyer, and the prosecutioner, and the defendant. Fernando said, do you think TKO has the grapefruits to bring back Vince McMahon? Yes, I do. I think it's impossible for him to come back. I don't. I think honestly, there's a chance he could be back at some point, whether it be in a role in the company or for an appearance. I feel like they might feel like time heals all wounds. And in 5 years, if the guy's still around, which is very likely, his mother lived until like 101 or some shit, that they can bring back Vince at some point too. Obviously, he's way worse than Brock, but I'm just telling you, like, they brought him back before. That was before the Janelle Grant stuff dropped. But the fact they even brought him back once tells you enough that they could bring him back again. I mean, why do you think the weekend that the lawsuit dropped, 2K freaked the fuck out. They immediately removed Brock from the game. Like, what changed? What changed? It's been a year and a half. It has not been 5 years. That would be one thing if it's been like 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Brother, it's been a year and a fucking half. People still remember what happened. 2K was freaking out. Oh, I got to get Brock Lesnar out of the game. Like, that was a little excessive. To take Brock Lesnar out of your fucking video game, who gives a shit? The company freaked out over that. And you know for a fact he'll be back in 2K27. So again, what is different? That's what I would love to know. Maybe they found out all of this is false. I highly doubt it. What if they found out all of this is false and Brock is the nicest, least problematic person in the world? Why not reveal that to us? You know, that's why I don't think that's the case. Fernando said, what are your thoughts on Fantastic Four suffering a second week, 68% second week drop at the box office? It's a bummer because I thought the movie was great. I was kind of surprised to hear that. I thought it would do better than that because the movie was so good that word of mouth would spread. I don't know what they're going to end up with financially. It's got to be better overall than Thunderbolts. I would have to imagine. It's got to be the highest, I mean, aside from Deadpool and Wolverine. Obviously, it's got to do better than the Marvels. It's got to do better than Thunderbolts. It's got to do better than Brave New World. I mean, that's still a success. Big drop, though. Disappointing. Definitely an issue. But, I still think it being the most successful Marvel movie, not counting Deadpool and Wolverine since, God, what would have been the other one? Guardians 3, maybe? I don't know. I would still consider that a success. Daniel said, or Grunt first, he said, fair point about Forbidden Door. At this point, they could just retire the concept and just keep Wrestle Dynasty in Japan the night after Wrestle Kingdom. I agree with that. Daniel said, what do you mean Triple H made himself look dumb at Presser Scram? You didn't like his I don't see color response in regards to pushing black talent? I know, I agree. I talked about that before, too. That was back at, I think, the Bad Blood one, when actually it was my friend TJ that asked that question. And Triple H responded with, I don't see color. It's just a dumb thing to say. Again, on the surface, I can understand why someone would say that. I may have said that many years ago. But it's important to see color so you can understand what people of color experience and, and it's not as if, oh, put this person on the show because they're of color. No, put them on the show. Like I think representation is very important. You shouldn't be putting people on the show just because they fill a certain quota. Obviously, I agree with that. But if they're talented enough and they're not being represented, that's kind of a problem. Like, why is Carmelo Hayes not on the show? That doesn't make sense to me. Don't put him on the show just because he's of color, just because he's a black dude. Put him on the show because he's fucking good. And they don't really have that. There's a lot more representation, but not enough. That's my problem. But yeah, that response, Triple H, you could put together a Mount Rushmore of his worst PR answers ever. And there is still plenty of room left over for other dumb answers he has given since taking over this company. He is awful with press, bro. He's just fucking terrible. He doesn't know how to answer stuff. It makes himself look worse than if he just said no comment. I'd have more respect for no comment than the I don't see color shit. Stupid. Fresh Fly said, backtracking a little bit here. Where's the comment? CM Punk versus Brock versus Roman versus Seth, World Heavyweight Championship. Do you think we will see this match? No. I don't think we need to. Why would keep Brock far away from the championship, please? That is absolutely unnecessary. Grunt said, I wouldn't be much better at a press conference. Outside of the obvious questions about the lawsuit, I would just be there asking questions about the production of the show or old stuff no one cares about. It would be better than the other questions, Grunt. Listen, I would rather you ask questions about that. I mean, I'm sure you've seen these press conferences. The AEW ones too, but the WWE ones, they invite more goofs. Listen, all due respect, there's a lot of nice people that go there, a lot of people that I know. I'm not saying there's a lot of, and I respect everyone that has ever been invited to a press conference. I've asked questions I'm not, I wish I had done a better job with. There's questions that, are about the product that may not, aren't newsworthy, but they're at least about the show or they're about the product. People are asking shit, and I know the guy, and I don't know if he regrets it or not, but, the EO Sky question, brother, what are we doing? The EO Sky Taylor Swift question from a few years ago, that's just a black mark on the press conferences. That will never, ever be forgotten. That was years ago, and people still have not forgotten about it. It was a joke, and it makes everyone else in that room look bad. Fresh Fly said, will you be subscribing to ESPN for $30? No, I will not be. Definitely not. Fresh Fly said, would you rather have to redo middle school and high school with the brain that you have now, but not know if you'll have friends, or go through the next 10 years of your life, but not live it, only have memories of it? That's an interesting question. I don't know what you mean by the second half of that, though. But not know if you'll have friends. If you go through middle school and high school again, I mean, I didn't have many friends in middle school and high school to begin with, so honestly, it doesn't really make much of a difference. So what's the second half of that? Go through the next 10 years of your life but not live it, only have memories of it. Then definitely the first one. I mean, middle school and high school sucked, but with the brain that I have now, I would much rather do that. The second half of that just seems, only have memories of the next 10 years? That's a complete waste of 10 years. That would suck. Not to be able to experience it. I guess the first half of that is to do middle school and high school again would be difficult. But with the brain I have now and not know if I'll have friends, well, I definitely wouldn't because, that's just, I didn't anyway. Yeah, I think that's an easy one. Definitely the first one. Grunt said, my ass at the Royal Rumble press conference asking why they decided to retire the World Tag Team titles lineage 16 years ago. Brother, I would be asking the same thing because I would be wondering the same thing. I was actually going to ask at some point, not that wouldn't be the first question, but I was wondering, why are we still calling it the Undisputed WWE Championship? Why are we still calling it? It's not undisputed anymore. We have a World Heavyweight Championship. Thankfully, they did away with that. It is officially back to being the WWE title. I saw Sean Ross Sapp tweet that. I checked the website. It is indeed called the WWE title again. Thank God. Thank God. It's not a big deal. It's like an OCD thing for me, but I'm glad they finally tweaked that. Ahmed said, Graham, how you been? I've been well, Ahmed. Tired, coming off the weekend, but I've been well. Thank you for asking. Hope you've been well as well. Ahmed said Drew McIntyre, probably as far as his first feud as WWE champion is what he's referring to. Maria said, Punk just standing in the middle of the ring, waiting for Seth Rollins to cash in on him, made him look dumb, especially when we saw him leave through the crowd with a world title at Money in the Bank. Yeah, I mean, that's just wrestling for you. To be fair, the difference is, yeah, what you're talking about is Money in the Bank 2011. You are correct. He avoided the cash in that way. But to be fair, he was beat up a lot more by Gunther than he was by CM Punk or by John Cena 14 years ago. He's older now. He got beat the fuck up by Gunther. He probably did not have the energy. He was completely destroyed and spent. He did not have the energy to leave the crowd. So honestly, in a way, it kind of makes sense. But I understand what you mean. Maria also agrees that Drew should be the one to take the title from Cody. Ahmed also said, even Solo having the U.S. title is hurting the title as well. I want it on someone I'm excited to see on my TV, Mello Black. Yes, Mello is indeed black. Yeah, the U.S. title should be on Mello. It serves no purpose on Solo, who's booked like shit. That match at SummerSlam sucked. I think Solo is very entertaining. I like Solo Sikoa. His booking this year has been awful. He has been showing more personality, but his booking has sucked. He will only hurt that championship. He will not elevate it. Absolutely not. Put that belt on someone like a Mello or an Andrade or someone like that. That would make way more sense. How about Aleister Black versus Cody for the WWE title of PLE? I would like that. I mean, Aleister Black's kind of busy with Damian Priest right now, but Aleister Black and Cody running it back from AEW would be cool. I don't know how many people would care because Black's not really on that level. But if they built him up quickly enough to get that opportunity, I don't know if it's you mean now or down the road, I'd be down for that. Johnny says, I wonder what Sable had to say about the allegations. I don't think she cares. I mean, if they're still together after that, she must not give a shit. Honestly, he's probably gotten away with other stuff that she was aware of, and she's just still with him. I mean, listen, that's her choice. It's not the same thing as, like the John Laurinaitis thing, which was way worse. The John Laurinaitis stuff in the lawsuit was way worse. And John Laurinaitis' wife divorced him, and they're no longer together. Sable did not feel the same way. I mean, again, the Brock stuff is not nearly as bad as John Laurinaitis, so who am I to say, oh, she should have dumped him, blah, blah, blah. Definitely weird that Brock would say that sort of stuff while he's married, but, I mean, come on. If you're surprised by that, then you don't know the wrestling business, because that's been going on for decades. And he probably came up in that era where he thought it was okay, and he doesn't give a shit. Clearly, she doesn't care either, but she's still with him. Or at least care enough to leave his ass. Alexis said, people like these Brock apologists are the reason why women don't feel comfortable coming out about these things. It's disgusting. I would agree with that. Fernando said, did you enjoy the Unreal series? I only watched the first episode so far. What I've seen so far, I liked. I heard from a lot of people this weekend that I saw that they loved it. A lot of people I talked to this weekend that saw the whole thing really, really enjoyed it. Honestly, even more so the casual fans than the hardcore fans, actually. I like the show. Someone asked me about it in the questions. I'll get to it later, but from what I've seen so far, I liked it, personally. Johnny said, some people happy to see Brock back don't even watch wrestling. Well, RJ's not among those people. He literally said it in 2 comments down. He said Brock with 7 exclamation points. So he obviously watches the product, and he's happy Brock is back. So RJ does not fall in that category. Maria said, where would you rank this weekend on all of the SummerSlams? I mean, what does that even mean? Ranking it against all SummerSlams of all time, it wouldn't even be top 10. I mean, I thought it was a good show overall. How does that even work? Because, there's more content. We get 12 matches between the 2 days. So, how does that even compare to the SummerSlams of, 30 years ago where it would be, 7 matches or whatever? You know what I mean? Or, last year. I thought last year was a better SummerSlam. Less matches. Half as many matches, but a far better show. Yeah, I can name at least 10 SummerSlams that were better than the one this weekend. Although I thought it was good. I don't know where it would rank specifically, but I did think it was a good show overall. But not great. Johnny said, didn't Ludwig Kaiser try to fight Logan Paul backstage for talking to Tiffany? I don't think so. Maybe she said that in the podcast. Not to my knowledge. Daniel said, smart of Tiffany to sidestep the Hogan question since there are folks that think she's racist as is. LOL. Yeah, I mean, that was going back to that thing. I don't think Tiffany's racist, but I think what you're referring to is that she had posted a video. I don't know if it had the N-word in it or not, but it had something where it was like her smacking Jade off of the apron. And the audio, I think it did use the N-word. I'm pretty sure in the audio. I could be wrong. When she knocked her off the apron, the audio that she used over it had that in it. And people, I mean, she immediately deleted it, but the internet never forgets. And she got a lot of flack for that. I mean, it's a simple mistake. It's not really that big of a deal. But people already kind of have an issue with her over that. So, yeah, probably smart on her part to not discuss the Hogan thing. Daniel says the pivot. It's always about the pivot, my friend. Daniel said, I was literally about to ask you the bigger letdown between the Cena heel run and the invasion angle, but you just answered it. Yeah, I would go invasion because I think the invasion, I wasn't watching during the invasion, but I think there was always more excitement over WCW invading WWE, but they had almost no star power. They were completely destroyed, and WCW ended up dead over it, as opposed to getting their own show or being made to look strong. We didn't get really any dream matches out of that. I wasn't watching back then, so it's hard for me to say, but I would still even go with the invasion. I mean, that literally fucking killed the entire brand. And any hope of it surviving after that was dead in the water. And all the stars that really should have been a part of it came in after the fact. The Cena heel run, there was a lot of excitement around too. It's a big blunder, but I feel like the invasion angle did more damage and also did more to kill business than the Cena heel run did. The Cena heel run, I mean, their business never really suffered. Just creatively, it sucked. So that's the biggest difference. Johnny said, hopefully people don't ask Cody any more questions about AEW. I mean, come on. I'm sure he will. Trust me. I'm sure he will continue, maybe not in every interview, but he will continue to get questions about AEW because people will continue to wonder exactly what happened. And I don't think he'll ever reveal it, at least not in an interview, probably in a book or something, but it will continue to happen. Carmelo Hayes should get a WWE title shot. Why would he get a WWE title shot, Johnny, when he has not been on the show in like fucking 3 months? He would have to win a battle royal or something. Like you talk about Aleister Black being random, Carmelo Hayes would be very random. And he's also lost to Cody like 4 times. So my answer to that is no. I would start small, start building him back up. I would not immediately catapult him to the main event to face Cody and lose. That would just accomplish nothing. He's already been made to look strong in defeat against Cody before. So doing it again with the title on the line, what does that really do? Alexis said, my favorite thing Triple H has said is that he did not read the Janelle Grant case. Again, just say no comment. I don't know why he said that. He was like, oh yeah, I didn't even read it. Like, brother, it's your fucking father-in-law, you idiot. Johnny said CM Punk All Out 2022 might be the best post-conference in wrestling history. It was certainly the most must-see. I didn't watch any of them before that, but I certainly started watching them after that, I'll tell you that much. Alexis said, I've said it before and I'll say it again, journalism is an art form. It is so hard figuring out how to word a great question. The people that used to pick on towards the end were YouTubers or TikTokers. Yeah, they were not journalists. They were just looking for content to post on their fucking social media. But who am I to say, I guess? Daniel said, how about fans clearly chanting, we want Cross, and Hunter just goes, you want Brock, you got him. That was fucking funny. I mean, if there was ever an indication, if there was ever a confirmation of Cross being gone, that was it. I mean, brother, that was it. If you needed to know that Cross was not coming back and not getting re-signed, that was your confirmation. They're already erasing him from history while he still works for the company. It is so funny to see. What are some questions you wish you could have got to ask at a press conference? I have no idea. I've answered this before when it was relevant at other press conferences that I wish I could have asked about at the time. In the wake of the Vince lawsuit, I couldn't have asked about the Vince thing because I got picked on to talk to Bayley. I'm not going to ask Bayley about the fucking Vince lawsuit. What the fuck is she going to say? You know what I mean? I just didn't really feel like that was fair. But there's been other press conferences that I wish I had asked about, like Vince's creative involvement. Like I got asked Triple H a question at the Rumble 2023 press conference, and it was about the show, but it was also in the wake of the Vince being back rumors. I wish I had asked about that. So I guess that's one example. Johnny said, for $100,000, would you wrestle in a barbed wire match or an inferno match? I guess, but with medical bills rack up over $100,000 because I'd probably would end up either dead or in severe damage. So probably not. Probably not, because I feel like the injuries I would leave with would probably amount to $100,000, so I feel like that's just a waste of time. Grunt said, kind of screwed up how hard they're making it for you to watch WWE now. Meanwhile, it's the easiest it's ever been for me up here when my interest in their product is non-existent. There you go. Daniel said, I didn't mind it being called Undisputed WWE title because that's what they called it in SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, one of my favorite games and rosters. The difference is that back then anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, when they called it the Undisputed WWE Championship, I mean, honestly, even back then it didn't make sense. They were calling it that back in 02 through like 04 or 05. But they had the World Heavyweight Championship. When you have two world titles, it's not undisputed. It might be good for nostalgia, like you said, but it doesn't make sense. When you have two world titles, it is disputed. It is dumb. Johnny said, let's see. Should Reed and Breaker have surrounded the ring during the cash-in? He still won. I mean, what would have been the point of that? No, I don't think they should have surrounded the ring. Rollins won anyway, so there would not have been a point of that. I mean, prevent Punk from running away? It didn't matter because he wasn't going to run away anyway. He was destroyed. Couldn't even get up. Noob said, do you think that having celebrities in today's wrestling hurts wrestling in general? I mean, you got people like Logan Paul, Billy Corgan, and recently Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll did not hurt SummerSlam. Listen, I've said this before. I've said this a lot, and I'll say it again. Jelly Roll did not hurt the SummerSlam show. I mean, his match was actually one of the better matches on night one, first of all. Second of all, he busted his ass. Third of all, he's an actual fan. And fourth of all, there's a lot of people that probably watch the show just for his shit, not giving a fuck about wrestling itself. Did I care about the match going into it or the build? No. I don't give a shit about the celebrity involvement unless it's someone I personally am invested in. But I did not care about it. It was the same thing with the Bad Bunny thing. I didn't care about the build. I didn't care about him being there. And then he went out there and had a great match. His performance was a lot better than Jelly Roll's because he's just a much better athlete. But it was the same exact thing where people might watch for him because he's a big star. It depends on the celebrity. The Travis Scott shit was garbage because, I mean, he might be a fan, but I think he was more of a fan of the Attitude Era stuff. He just seems like a moron anyway. And he did more to hurt the product than he did help it. So it depends. Logan Paul is not really hurting the product. I mean, you may hate Logan Paul, but the guy's a great athlete. He's had a lot of good matches, and he also might be bringing fans into the show, that people that are aware of his work elsewhere that might want to watch him on WWE television. So wrestling fans might hate him, but he also makes for a good heel. He's an okay talker. He hasn't really improved on that front. He's a great athlete. I'm not going to say great wrestler because I feel like he lacks in-ring psychology a lot of the times, but he's also had a lot of fun matches, very hit or miss. And I feel like they've kind of run into the issue of what value does he really bring to the product at this point. I will say that. But I don't really have as much of an issue with him as many other people do, so it's kind of hit or miss. Maria said, is there another autobiography review coming soon? Not an autobiography, but yes, there is a book review coming soon. It is this one. I have said it before. I am currently in the process, and I've read a whole lot of this book in the last 2 weeks. I didn't read this weekend because I was busy at SummerSlam, but the NWO book, my friend Mark Ramondi wrote this from ESPN. It's called Say Hello to the Bad Guys. I was already reading this before Hogan passed away, so it's very timely I'm reading this book. It's a great book. I'm like 215 pages in. There's like 300 pages or something like that. When I'm finished with that, in the next couple of weeks, that I'll be done with it. I'll review it on the channel. So that's the next book review. And then after that one, there's other books I have a whole lot of books I want to read. I mentioned John Moxley's book. I still want to finish and review that one. But honestly, coming off of his probably WWE departure, I want to get his book. Karrion Kross. He just came out with a book yesterday, actually. I really want to read that. So honestly, I might buy that one first and read that. I might buy that and read that before I start anything else. I don't know how many pages Karrion's book is, but I really want to read it. I'm excited to read it. So, that might be, I'm probably going to review that one first in the next few weeks, probably by next weekend, more than likely, if I'm done with it before then, which I should be. And then I'll read Karrion's, and then we'll go from there. So, probably that one, then Karrion Kross's. Daniel said, I'm a big fan of both Jacob and Solo, but their SummerSlam matches stunk. Or their SummerSlam match stunk. Yeah, that match sucked. I'm sorry. The feud's got to end. This feud has been. I just don't care at this point. It's also a complete waste of the United States Championship. Who should be next for Tiffany? Johnny asked. And where does Jade go from here? Next for Tiffany, I don't know, and I don't know where Jade goes. I think they just continue the feud, and I think they turn one of them, and I think they should turn Jade. Tiffany was just a heel like less than a year ago. Jade's never been a heel in WWE, which is funny because she was always a heel. She was never not a heel in AEW for the 3 or 4 years that she was there. So I would turn Jade well before I turn Tiffany. He was already the champion. What does she gain from turning heel at this point? So quickly, too. So I would turn Jade and then probably just continue that feud or bring in Bianca into the mix and turn her heel. We might get Jade and Bianca coming out of this. I don't know. I don't know who's next for Tiffany, though. Chelsea Green? It's probably got to be Jade or Bianca. Maria says, do you think Becky versus Nikki for the IC title women's championship will be good? I do. Honestly, I do. I actually really like the segment they had on Raw this week. That one line was great. People have been, oh my God, that line was amazing. It was amazing. But the actual segment itself I thought was actually very good. Not to take away from the rest of the segment, Nikki, Becky, whatever. I thought the segment was great. So, it's not a match I'm so excited for, but I do think the match will be good. And Becky should beat her, obviously. Good use of Nikki. And we move on from there. So, yeah, Nikki's good. Listen, I think Brie Bella's abysmal. But Nikki's the far better twin in the ring, on the mic even. She's always been better, at least for the last 10 years. And that's true even now. So I'm looking forward to that feud, based on what we saw on Monday. Richie said, Jinder Mahal should return to WWE to challenge and dethrone Cody Rhodes for the WWE title and have him hold it until WrestleMania 45. Richie, do you want me to drive into a ditch? Ahmed said, I loved how you called Triple H an idiot. It serves him right. Also add a third one for his lazy booking majority of this year. So that's one thing I'm not going to go completely in on because I think the booking for the most part has been good, fine. I think last year creatively was a better year overall for WWE. I don't really think there's a massive issue creatively with WWE. There's stuff I have issues with, but overall I enjoy the product. I'm just saying I think he's a moron for his response to certain things PR-wise. There's a lot of things he's done right. I'm not going to completely switch up on Triple H and say go from, oh, he's a savior to, oh, man, he's an idiot. No, I think he's an idiot as far as the PR stuff is concerned. He's not doing himself or the company any favors, especially perception-wise. Richie said 4 more years of Mania in Las Vegas, and the theme will be every year will be Fiend. Again, Richie, I ask you, do you want me to drive into a ditch? Because if so, I can promise I'll be seeing you anytime soon. That would be awful. Johnny said, your ranking of the Becky and Lyra matches. Good question. Of the 4 they've had dating back to NXT, if we're not counting the triple threat at Evolution, I would say the Money in the Bank match might have been better than the Backlash one. I would probably go Money in the Bank, Backlash, NXT, and then SummerSlam. The SummerSlam match was well worked. It didn't work though. The no DQ stipulation, at least in that environment, in front of that crowd. Doing the wave was fucking dumb. People doing the wave, fuck you. That was just stupid. But the match was fine. I just don't think all the plunder really worked for the story they were trying to tell. I feel like their best chemistry is in actual wrestling matches. And it did not help it immediately followed a TLC match as well. I was glad the match got a step. But the timing of it was not good. It went almost 30 minutes for some reason. That was a little weird. It kind of got boring. So that was easily the weakest match they've ever had. But not bad, in my opinion. Fernando said, who should be next for Gunther when he comes back from his hiatus? This would not make sense, but Ilya Dragunov and Gunther would be awesome. Who wins there? I don't know. Gunther would probably have to beat him. There's a lot of people you can have Gunther work with. How far are we really slipping Gunther down the roster? You know what I mean? What are we doing with him? Is he going to go back to the mid-card, upper mid-card? I'm not sure. But having him run it back with Punk would make sense at some point. Him and Penta would be cool. Him and LA Knight would be cool. There's a lot of people he can work with. Knight, Penta, Punk, Dragunov when he comes back. I feel like Gunther will be fine. Johnny said, do you want to see Cross in AEW, New Japan, or TNA? Of the 3, if he was going to go anywhere, he would probably end up in GCW, to be honest. Of those 3, probably TNA. I know TNA works with WWE, which is why he might not go there. He also left TNA under terrible terms of the whole Don Callis thing, and he doesn't work there anymore, but they still might not go back. He was begging for his release from TNA back in 2019. That's what makes me think he might never go back. He didn't go back there when he got released from WWE the last time. He was just working indies. He would probably do GCW and MLW, to be honest. I don't think he would go to any of the other promotions. New Japan, I mean, would he really fit in over there? AEW, he didn't want to go there last time, and what would they even do with him now? I don't see him being a good fit there at all. And then TNA would be the best fit. I don't know if he would want to go there, though. So, probably not. Daniel said, we need to bring the pressers back so Dwayne can drink more Terramana and say stupid shit like storylines don't need to culminate in matches. Exactly. Oh my God. We don't need a match to culminate the storyline, guys. We could just further a storyline without doing matches. It's like, brother, really? That's also up there for one of the dumbest things I've ever heard at a press conference. And that was just this year. Do you like the Vision as the name for Seth's faction, Fernando asked? I do, actually. I've never really minded that. When that was rumored months ago, I thought it was fine. I actually like the name. That's just me. What should be next for Jacob Fatu? Hopefully bigger and better things. I would not continue the solo shit. They probably will based on what happened afterward, but yeah. I don't know I don't really know exactly what he does now. Probably solo, which I'm not a fan of because that feud has just fucking run its course. Richie said you had that book on the ready for that question. LOL, that was fast. No, I have the book here usually. That's where I keep it. I usually just have it. And that I didn't hold it up for that reason. I did hold it up for the sake of the question, but where I had it, I have it anyway. So I keep it there just so I know where it is. I leave it in the same spot all the time. But the book's great. Richie said I have Karrion Kross's book coming in today. Excited to read it later. Oh, that's cool. I'm jealous. I contemplated buying it as soon as it came out, like getting the pre-order, but I hadn't finished the NWO book yet, so I'm like, I'll just wait until I'm done. And then I have I'm an Amazon member or whatever, so I'm sure if I do it through Amazon, if I ship it through Amazon, it should come in like a day or two anyway. Fernando said, is Aleister Black a cool dude in person? Yes, he is very down to earth. He was cool. I spoke to him obviously briefly at the junket thing, the clip that I posted the other day here on the channel. But I met him, I had more time with him when I met him in person at an indie show back in 2022. He was awesome. Really cool dude. We got a picture with him. Same day I met at Karrion Kross, actually, and spoke with him for a little while. Both great dudes. Fernando said, was Charlexa winning the tag team titles the right decision in your opinion? Absolutely. They're working. They're over. I think they work well as a team. I like that they won. Daniel said, come on, Nikki. Yeah, I know, that shit was awful. All you would hear during Nikki's matches is, come on, Nikki, from Brie Bella at ringside. It was terrible. God, don't even bring back Brie Bella as a manager. She's just intolerable. I'm sorry. Richie said, Nikki has to win. If she doesn't, how else will we get the Total Divas reboot? Good point. Ahmed said, also loved your Dom interview. He seems like a cool dude and funny. He was very cool. Thank you, first of all, Ahmed, for saying that. Second of all, he was awesome. I've interviewed and met Dom before. He was great then 2 years ago when I spoke to him. He's even funnier now. Like I said, it really helped that we got to do it in person because, like I said earlier, it was supposed to be over Zoom. And I was already at the WWE media junket earlier that day. So when I was there, by the way, I'll probably post the interviews in the next couple of days, this weekend, whatever. I got that one question from Aleister Black, which I posted the other day. The interview with Dom, which I'll go back to in a second. I also spoke with Braun Breaker. He was fucking terrible. And I like Braun Breaker, but our interview was not great at all. He gave me almost nothing. But I'll post that at some point. And then I also did an interview with Alexa Bliss, actually. So I had never met her before. I had never interviewed her before. And she was good. We had a fun interview. So both of those should be up soon. The Aleister Black question is already up, and the Dom interview went up on Sunday. So I was at the WWE media thing where they were doing, it was at the Talent Hotel, I believe. And I asked one of the PR people, like, hey, I have to do this Dom interview at like 10:30. I'm at the junket at this point from 9 to 11. And I got to step out to do this interview. Terrible timing. And then I said to them, hey, is there like a side room that I could go in to go do this Dom interview I have to do with Chase Freedom over Zoom? And he's like, you know what? Actually, Dom's doing the interviews upstairs. Do you want me to just take you up there and just do it in person? I said, if you could do that, that'd be fucking great. That's exactly what they did. I went in there quick, set up my shit real quick. The camera, like, it was just me. It was just me's. So Alexis wasn't there to like set up the camera and stuff. So I had to like quickly set up the tripod and everything. I already had the tripod set up, but like, set up the angle. I thought he'd be standing up. He was sitting down. It was a very quick thing. I wasn't really prepared for that. That's why the camera angle isn't like great. But yeah, he just popped in. We spoke for almost exactly 10 minutes. That's how much time I had. And I left. And that was it. But he was awesome. He was a very funny dude. The Van Helsing answer was hysterical. He did the same thing when we spoke a few years ago, and he's even funnier about it now. That movie does fucking suck, by the way. But yeah, check it out when you get a chance. The Dom interview from last Sunday. Daniel said, I was very much enjoying Becky versus Lyra until Bayley showed up. I mean, I thought the match, but even prior to that point, I thought the match was just kind of good, but it wasn't what the other matches were. So even when Bayley showed up, which was expected, honestly, we kind of figured she'd show up at some point. Even prior to that, it wasn't all that interesting. It just went on way too long. Grunt said, what do you think about the idea of having bookers/writers in charge of specific championships or divisions? Like how apparently the Bucks still/were in charge of booking the tag team division in AEW. I don't know how true that is. I've never heard that. And if they are, they're doing a terrible job because that division sucks. I mean, it's gotten better lately, but that division's been in the doldrums for a few years now. I like that, though. I mean, the Bucks themselves booking the tag division has been awful, if that's true. But having certain people book certain divisions, I've said that before. I said a long time ago, Matt Hardy, like, he's got a great mind for the business. Someone like him, while you're not working there is the point. Someone like that booking the tag team division that has a lot of history with it would make a lot of sense. So I do like that idea. I don't think they do that. But, like, have these people kind of in charge of the women's division, any female producers, like, I feel like that would make more sense than everyone just writing everything, which has its pros and cons. Fernando said, how long should Punk and Seth last for? It's already been going on for 2 years, so hopefully not much longer. I would not drag it out till Mania. That is just way too long. I would honestly blow it off. I mean, if you want to blow it off at Clash, that'd be fine. But LA Knight's also involved, so that's probably not happening. I would probably do it at Survivor Series because that was where the feud kind of got restarted in the first place when Punk came back 2 years ago. So I feel like that would make sense. I mean, but they might want to they'll probably put Rollins' group in War Games, which is another reason why we got to ditch the fucking concept. It's like, can we move on from this War Games bullshit that feels forced? I mean, come on. Brother, absolutely not. But yeah, I would blow it off at Survivor Series in November. Grunt said, back in the day, I would have loved to have had full control over the Intercontinental Championship and the title scene surrounding it, but nothing else. Yeah. Stuff like that, like Shawn Michaels. I mean, he books NXT, but like him doing like the IC title picture would be cool because I feel like he would know how to book it. Johnny saying, should the Lucha Bros defeat the Judgment Day for the tag team titles? Why would that make sense? Because Rey Fenix is currently teaming with Andrade. Would he just ditch Andrade and go to Raw and team up with Penta? That'd be dumb. So I'm going to say no to that. How long should the Seth and Punk story last through? Well, I just answered that, but I would say Survivor Series. Johnny said Kyle versus Dustin Rhodes was a good hardcore match on Collision. Yeah, I thought they had a good match. Good fun street fight. Very entertaining. Fucking ridiculous with some of the spots, but it's a fun match nonetheless. Fernando said, I watched it in the hotel room on Thursday when I pulled in New Jersey. Fernando said, do you think Punk had his best performance since returning to WWE on Saturday? If not, which was your match? Which match is in your opinion? I mean, he was mostly beat up by Gunther, so I would not say that match. I would say the Drew match. I think the Drew match has been the best that he's had so far since returning to WWE. But the Gunther match would be high up there. And the triple threat at Mania earlier this year. Daniel said, once again, it's just Graham Ooze. Ahmed said, yeah, I've seen Braun Breaker interviews in the past, and it's not great. He's shy. He's just fucking... I don't know, man. He's just not good with media. I've had other interviews where he's fine, and other interviews where he's just very standoffish, gives terrible answers, sounds like he just woke up. He's just not a great interview. Richie said in all caps, Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman is goated, how dare you. No, that movie's garbage. He also said it's good trash. I love those early 2000s, late 90s action movie cheese fests. I mean, that movie was bad. It was bad. I'll tell you that much. It is very bad. It's good almost, but it's still bad. It's like Room type bad, with Tommy Wiseau. Very similar to that, but still a bad movie. He still thinks it's the greatest thing of all time. And it was very funny debating that movie with Dominic Mysterio, calling it his favorite movie of all time. What's next for Bayley, Fernando said? Probably feuding with Lyra. Johnny said we might get Tekla, Julia, Sky, Penelope, and Megan versus Willow, Anna J, Timelo, Animata, and Chris in Blood and Guts. I feel like if we were going to get a women's Blood and Guts, we would have gotten it already. I don't think that's happening, but I guess that would make sense. They've all been interacting recently, so I guess that could make sense. Fernando said, Denise Salcedo and Sean Ross Sapp have also claimed that Braun Breaker is an awful interview, LOL. I was there when they interviewed him. It was the same day that I talked to him, too. It was back in 2022. There's a joke amongst the wrestling media that everyone could not run their Braun Breaker interviews that weekend. I did. I mean, mine's here on the channel from a few years ago. It was an in-person interview. And, I mean, the interview that I had with him was not great. This was probably even worse than that. But everyone kind of made the joke at the time that we couldn't run the interviews with him because he was just so bad. He gave no answers. He felt like he just woke up. And that was 3 years ago. It's like at the time, okay, he's in NXT. I kind of get it. Like he's still kind of getting used to media. He's on the main roster now. He has been for a while. Why are your interviews still terrible? It's very weird. Ahmed said, when LA Knight said in an interview that Braun is one of the funniest people in that locker room. Yeah, I just think he doesn't like talking to media. I've had interviews where he's like better. I talked to him in January. I don't have it here on the channel. I'll probably post it at some point. I talked to him in January or February over Rumble weekend. He was better than he was this weekend. This weekend he didn't give a fuck. Like, and not give a shit in like a good way. He was not give a shit in the way that like he was just like giving almost no answers. He probably is one of the funniest people in the locker room because he has a great personality on the show. And then when you put a mic in front of his face, at least not on TV, he's like, like, it's like, bro, give us something. Give us some energy. Maria said, the NWO book sounds very interesting. I love the NWO. Yeah, it's a great book so far from what I've read. It's a lot of recounting what the NWO did, but I wasn't around at that point, so I find a lot of it fascinating. But it also includes a lot of behind-the-scenes stories that have never been shared before. It's well worth the read. You could find it on Amazon, I'm sure. I got a free copy from the guy who wrote it because he's a great dude, and I've been really enjoying it. So I don't know if you can find it in like Barnes & Noble and shit, but it's a great book, and I would certainly recommend it. And I'll review it when it comes out, when I'm done with it, and the review should come out in the next week and a half or so. What's your favorite interview with a wrestler, Maria asked? I've answered this before. Probably not because it was the best interview. These two actually happened within days of each other. Not because they are the best interviews I've done, but just because the fact that I got to talk to them was crazy, because they're two of my favorites of all time. William Regal and CM Punk. CM Punk was cool as shit. Regal was fucking awesome. I got to tell him that Graham Matthews is not my real last name, obviously. I've said that before. People still don't believe that. But I adopted that last name from him because his real name in real life is Darren Matthews. And he thought that was cool. And he was like, oh, yeah, I have a nephew named Graham Matthews. And I was like, can I be your nephew? Like, whatever. But I didn't say that. But yeah, that was cool as shit. Regal was awesome. Punk was great. Dom's always a great interview. Goldberg, honestly, was always a lot of fun to talk to. Anytime I chatted with Goldberg, usually like the latter times, like we complain about Goldberg and him complaining, but honestly, he was cool as fuck anytime I talked to him. Taker was always great. The interview that we had earlier this year was great, I thought. Taker was awesome. Orton, honestly, might be one of my favorite interviews ever. Randy Orton, when I talked to him last year, I was intimidated as fuck because you hear stories about him. He could not have been cooler. And I'm sure I would not have had that experience 5-10 years ago, but when I talked to him last year, he was amazing. Orton's one of my favorites. Yeah, there's a few. Cena was cool to talk to, intimidating. But just to say I talked to John Cena was cool. Triple H was cool when I talked to him for like 15, 20 minutes so many years ago, just for the experience. I thought the interview went well. So, yeah, those are just a few. Johnny said, is Punk versus MJF dog collar match still CM Punk's best match since his return? It might be. I still think the Drew Hell in a Cell match is better. The dog collar match is great. I think the Hell in a Cell match is better, in my opinion. Maria said, where would you rank Dirty Dom amongst current young talent? Where would I rank him amongst current young talent? I mean, he's not number one. I mean, Dominic is very talented, but he's not He's not like the most well-rounded performer ever. He's probably somewhere in the middle. I feel like he has a lot of potential. He's a very good dude. He's improved in the ring. He's improved on the mic. He's a great character. He knows his character very well. Yeah, probably somewhere in the middle. I feel like he has a lot of potential. Maybe middle, upper middle. Daniel said, I know you loved your Bubba Ray interview. I know, man. I still fucking hate that interview. He was like a passive dick. And I know he's like putting on a character and whatnot. He was just a fucking dick. I'm sorry. Like he was trying to like big league me. And I could tell that he's trying to do the same persona that he tries to put on an LFG from watching the show. And I'm like, bro, fuck you. Really? Like that was one of the first interviews that I did after the fact where I'm like, bro, you were just an asshole. I'm sorry. And he wasn't like a complete douche, but just the way he kind of acted, and he's trying to give like these answers that are like, oh, I'm kind of like better than you, or like I'm tougher than you, blah blah blah. Very weird, very very weird. I was always a big Team 3D fan. I lost a lot of, not that he gives a shit, but I kind of became less of a fan of Bubba Ray, and not Team 3D. Team 3D is still great. I think Devon's great. I've met him before, and he was awesome. Bubba Ray was always kind of a bully. I mean, I'm not just saying that because that's his name in TNA, but he was always a bit of a bully, and that's not really much of a surprise if you've heard certain stories. All right, so I think we're almost 2 hours in here. I've not answered a single scheduled question yet, so we'll get into this now. But Richie said first, Bubba is a professional poker player and studied psychologist. Never forget. Yeah, he called himself the Hannibal Lecter of professional wrestling. Never forget that either. God, what a fucking weirdo. Anyway, let's go to the scheduled questions here. I'll go back to the chat in a little bit. A lot of scheduled questions. So I'll go back to the chat, answer some of that, and go back and forth probably, unless we just go all the way through. We'll see. Jordan B. from YouTube asked, are there any current celebrities that you would want to see compete in WWE or AEW? I know it won't happen now, but I thought it would have been cool to see Hugh Jackman have a match in WWE. Also, for reasons I can't explain, I would like to see Zendaya in a wrestling ring. Well, yeah, like you said, neither of those are happening. I don't care about Zendaya in a wrestling ring. I'm sure certain people would. I don't care. Hugh Jackman would have been cool. And it would have made sense, too, so many years ago when he was involved in that Dolph Ziggler angle when he knocked him out on Raw. Not legit, but I think he did actually hit him. And he helped Zack Ryder beat Dolph on Raw that one time back in 2011. A Hugh Jackman-Dolph match, honestly, if Hugh Jackman trained for it, would have gone fucking hard. That would have been awesome. I'm sorry. That would have been fucking cool. So I honestly agree with that. Any current celebrities? Not really. I think Post Malone's a wrestling fan. I would much rather see Post Malone involved in a WWE match or an angle than Travis Scott, who I never gave a shit about, and he seems like an idiot anyway. Post Malone, I don't know that much more about, but he seems like a genuine fan, so maybe Post Malone, but Hugh Jackman back in the day would have been cool. His second question, do you see WWE signing Yoshiki Inamura whenever his contract with Pro Wrestling Noah expires? Yeah, I could see that. I could totally see it. He's been NXT long enough where I could totally see them signing him. What his future would look like in the main roster, I don't know. I don't know if they would even want him on the main roster. But in NXT, it probably would do well because he's done well so far in NXT as being part of Pro Wrestling Noah. He's been there for a long time. Fresh and Fly from YouTube asked, now that Cody Rhodes is champion, who do you want to see him feud with next? And also, who takes the belt off of him and when? Well, I answered this earlier, but feud with next, I would say Randy, because he beat Randy to become King of the Ring. So Randy, here's the thing with the Randy thing. People have always said, oh, that's a Mania match. That's a SummerSlam match. I agree. But like, we're 8 months away from Mania. SummerSlam just happened. He's got to fill the fall somehow. I would do it now. I would do it in the fall. I would say Drew, but I want Drew to actually take the title from Cody. Whether he wins it from Cody and then loses it back to him, I don't know. But I would like Drew to be the one to take the belt from Cody Rhodes, in my opinion. So, I would go Randy and then Drew. I would say Randy he feuds with next. Probably not going to happen. But ultimately loses the belt to Drew. That's what I would do. His next question, Cody and Cena versus Brock and Rock for Cena's last match in Boston. Would this be good or no? No, it would not. Cena's last match should be a singles match. Not a fucking tag team match. A singles match. Rock's not wrestling in a random Saturday night's main event in Boston. And maybe. I mean, I guess he could. I doubt it. Brock has not been in any tag team matches since returning to WWE 13 years ago. He's not going to start now. So, no. I don't see it being Cody and Cena versus Brock and Rock, nor should it. I don't really think that's a star-studded match. Would it be a good match? Probably not. So I'm going to say no to that. No L from Facebook. Thoughts on Brock Lesnar being back in WWE, given his case is still going on. Well, let me just clarify this. I said everything I wanted to say about the Brock thing earlier, where I am conflicted on it because I like Brock. He brings a lot to the product. They don't need him right now for a Cena match. I mean, come on, man. Is that really necessary? The answer is no. I would not bring, it doesn't really matter whether you like Brock or not. The bottom line is the lawsuit is still ongoing. And just to clarify, you said, well, his case is still going on. It's not his case. It's Vince McMahon's case with Janelle Grant. He is named in the case to a pretty significant degree. And it is worth noting, no, he never met her. No, he never did anything. So that is worth something. But he's still named in it, and it's still a weird situation. Until it is settled, until the lawsuit is over, I would not use him. I think it is very dumb to be using Brock Lesnar on your show while we don't know what the outcome of this case is going to be. That is very stupid to me. Doesn't matter if he's not being sued. Doesn't matter if he's not a defendant. Doesn't matter. He's named in it 44 times. I mean, it's clear as day. If you actually take the time to read the lawsuit, it's not a good look for him or the company. But they brought him back because they don't care. Do you think Cena versus Lesnar is happening at Survivor Series, they asked? No. I think the match will happen. I thought Clash in Paris, but then I remembered that Cena's being advertised for the Australia show. I don't think he'll be in Paris for Clash in Paris. He might be. If they do a match on that show, that'd be fine. Like, get it out of the way in the next month. I think they'll do it in Australia. I know Cena's advertised for that show. Give you more time to build it up. I would just do it in Paris and move on. But I think they might do it in Australia. Waiting until Survivor Series in 3.5 months, that's just way too fucking long. I would not do that. But they might. I want other matches with Cena before then. If he doesn't wrestle until Survivor Series, that's just stupid. I'm sorry. Justin said from Facebook, Survivor Series, speaking of which, is always going to be one of my favorite all-time events as it is in the month of my birthday, but I am starting to get tired of the War Games aspect. With WWE thinking of a possibility of a 2-night Survivor Series event in the future, would you like to see the traditional series matches return and maybe a night 2 for War Games, or would you like to see a Deadly Games type of tournament return? Deadly Games, no. They only did Deadly Games once. I mean, you only do Deadly Games if it makes sense storyline-wise. To do a tournament on the show every year would be stupid because what's the point of King of the Ring? You know, I mean, they did do a tournament of the 2015 show, but they only did the semifinals and the finals, not the quarterfinals of the first round. So definitely not the Deadly Games. Do not make Survivor Series 2 nights. They probably will to make more money. I just think it's dumb. You really water down SummerSlam by making it 2 nights. I said that this weekend. I just do not think it was necessary at all. It definitely did water down the show. Less is more. And I'm not saying 4 matches is great, but like last year, SummerSlam was awesome, I think, overall. It was a 7-match card, 7-match card. I think it was 7 matches. A lot of title changes, some great matches. Get your shit in and get out. Doesn't need to be 2 nights. Just to get everyone on the card. It's not necessary. But I would bring back the traditional matches. I agree with the War Games stuff. It's just not really special to me anymore. It just feels forced to do it at the same time every year. I don't care if WCW used to do it at the same time every year. I just still say the same thing. I feel like it makes it less special. You really have to force storylines to... Like, are you really going to wait until Survivor Series to blow off the Solo Jacob Fatu stuff? That'd be fucking awful. Like, no. Maybe with the Seth stuff, not with that. Definitely not. I hope not. I would just rather see the traditional matches return. No brand supremacy bullshit. Bring back War Games maybe at Survivor Series when it makes sense. Don't do it at the same time every year. Just do War Games when it makes sense. Doesn't have to be attached to a certain show every year. NXT got to the same issue and they were doing it at the same show every year for a few years. Your second question, buy or sell? Seth Riders, the Seth Riders in WWE or the Death Riders in AEW, and why? For sure sell on Seth Riders or buy on Seth Riders. For sure sell on Death Riders. Death Rider has been better now that Jon Moxley is not champion. And they were at their all-time worst back in the spring when they were all over the shows. The segments they were involved in sucked. I'm not saying the quote-unquote Seth Riders are lighting the world on fire currently, but, I mean, at least the booking there is better than the Death Riders. They were actively hurting Dynamite every week for months and their pay-per-views. We're not at the point now where the Seth Riders are the worst thing of all time, channel-changing material. The Death Riders were. So again, you may not like the Rollins faction, or it really hasn't clicked yet, which I agree with to a certain extent. I like the group, but it's not at the level that it should be at, considering the potential of all involved. The Death Riders were just actively awful for a very long time. It really hurt the title. It hurt the show. And they're better now, but I would still do away with them. So, sell on Death Riders, buy on Seth Riders, sell on Death Riders. Christopher L. from Facebook, his first question was, he said, "Hello, Graham. Hope you and Alexis had a wonderful weekend and are doing well. Glad you had a blast. It's SummerSlam and the whole weekend of. I'm going to be brutally honest. I was not a fan of this year's SummerSlam. I actually thought it sucked for the most part. Yes, the celebrity tag match was surprisingly good. Roman and Jay versus Braun and Braun was adequate but not PLE worthy. Punk and Gunther had an excellent match. The opening triple threat tonight, too, was strong. The TLC match was solid. TLC six-man tag was solid. And Cena versus Rhodes 2 was fantastic, even though the kick-out count was laughable. First of all, I agree with everything you just said there. Although I will say the TLC match was awesome. But the SmackDown Women's title match was mediocre and constantly showed Jade severe limits as a performer. Zayn and Cross had a very mid-match that showed their lack of chemistry. Dominic versus AJ was fine, but it was more of an Eddie Guerrero tribute, which is hammering home how much of an Eddie cosplay Dominic is. Becky versus Lyra was a milquetoast plunder match that brought no excitement, exposed WWE's overbooking problems, and was just a generic and bland attempt for WWE to show that they have an edge. And the cage match between Solo and Jika Fatu was hideously bad, with zero urgency and lacking in logic and sense. Also, I love how people were losing their minds when Rollins revealed his leg was fine, when I'm sure everyone in the IWC felt it was a ruse. And while the cash-in was well done, it just shows this company will drag out this empty rivalry even further when a dragged out and potentially mediocre title run for the fourth time. Also, I love how this company has never been 100% honest as to why these two genuinely hate each other. Overall, I thought the show for both nights was pretty forgettable. Some good, but mostly unmemorable stuff. But hey, they got their ridiculous viral moments, I guess. Did you think there was too much going on both nights? Was the overbooking of several matches one of the crutches to the execution of the matches? And were you overall fine with the show or underwhelmed? That is a lot to digest there. That is a very long question. Mostly I agree with what you said. I thought the show was good. I'm not going to say it was bad. I don't know what I would give it out of 10. I did not think it was great. We've had far better SummerSlams. Was there a lot going on? Yes. No shit. It's a 2-night show, obviously. Why wouldn't there be a lot going on? You can make the case if nothing happened. Oh, nothing happened. What a waste of a show. So obviously there was a lot going on. You had no interference, though, in either main event on night 1 or night 2, which was a refreshing change. And both main events were great. So for that reason alone, it was better than WrestleMania earlier this year on the whole. I just don't think SummerSlam needed to be 2 nights. I did think the show delivered. It's not a great or strong show, but I thought it was good. And it had its very good matches, some mid matches, and some not so good matches. The range was all over the place. There was a little bit of everything. Night 2 was more stacked, but it also had more Extreme Rules matches, kind of killed the crowd. Bad pacing there, I thought. Yeah, I enjoyed the show overall. I enjoyed it, did not think it was great, but I thought it was good. Your second comment, does Jeff Jarrett get way too much hate? I recently read a YouTube comment section of reasons why WCW went out of business for, reasons. And one guy said Jeff Jarrett being pushed as the chosen one said he had zero charisma. I took offense to that, as I feel like, yes, he wasn't the most colorful or entertaining personality in the world. He played the sniveling, loathsome scumbag heel very well, and he got serious heat. I'm not a big fan of the guy, but I feel like he gets the crap end of the stick way too many times, when he should be respected for overachieving when others didn't believe in him. Do you feel Jeff Jarrett gets way too much hate? Why do you feel he does? And do you feel he should be respected for doing things others laughed at him for? Well, first of all, Jeff Jarrett, which you completely did not mention, started TNA, so for that reason alone, he deserves respect. He created another company for people to work at when WCW went out of business. Does he get too much hate? Yes. Is some of it deserved? Yes. I mean, Jeff Jarrett was champion how many times? The world champion in WCW how many times? Jeff Jarrett, to me, was never, in any of the work I've ever seen of his, ever a main event level heel in WCW or in TNA. He was never a world champion in WWE, nor should he have been. When he went back to WWE in the late 90s, it wasn't the same. He was just a mid-card guy. Jeff Jarrett worked great as a mid-card heel. In the smaller ponds, he thought he was a world champion guy. He was not a fucking world champion guy. That's where I think the hate comes in. WCW did not die because of Jeff Jarrett. They died for many other reasons beyond that. But it was the decision to put the title on him so many times, making it sound like he's this world champion caliber performer like Booker T was. He wasn't. He was far less talented than Booker. Even Chris Benoit, who was world champion very briefly. Even Benoit was more of a world champion caliber performer over Jeff Jarrett. It was entertaining, but never great enough to be world champion for more than once, for a few months at that. Your third question, as I mentioned, Jelly Roll put in a fine performance in his tag team match the other night. Now there's talk about him doing more with the company, which I do not want to say. I have no clue who this Drewski guy is, and I really don't want to know. The Travis Scott fiasco left a stain on this year that it'll take a while to dissipate. The selection, if I show speed in the Royal Rumble, I think is what you mean. You know how I feel about that criminal douchebag Logan Paul, especially how I feel like they're giving him too far many wins than he should be getting, and he gets his over-bloated ego stroked every week. This TKO regime has completely blown their load on celebrities and their need to force their way into storylines that are beyond unnecessary, and their hollow attempts to go viral, which is just sad to me. Why does WWE feel the need to obsessively force celebrities into everything now in WWE? And at what point does it become a hindrance more than elevating a story? It's not really about elevating a story. Jelly Roll did not elevate a story. He's just there to sell tickets and get people to watch the show that are not wrestling fans that just may know who he is. And I think it worked. I didn't care about the feud, but I thought the match was fun. And he probably did his job in getting more eyes on that show. Travis Scott, they probably hoped to do that with him. That was fucking terrible. I just don't like Travis Scott anyway. But just their execution of him was awful. The way they used him was completely nonsensical. Getting involved in the biggest heel turn of the century, I mean, come on, bro. Like, that was just stupid. Back at Elimination Chamber. Yeah, like the I Show Speed stuff, I didn't really care about that because I thought it was a good spot in the Rumble. They love their celebrity stuff. They love their viral moments. That's what this company's all about. And if it adds to the product, then they'll keep doing it. Will it elevate anyone? Will it put anyone over? No. It's not putting anyone over. But if they can get their moment in the sun because they feel like it's all about the viral moments now, everything's a moment, then they'll keep doing it. When everything's a moment, nothing is. That's kind of my logic. So, some stuff is fine, like the Jelly Roll thing exceeded expectations. Bad Bunny is great. Logan Paul has his pros and cons. The Travis Scott stuff was terrible. Drewski, who gives a shit? I understand why they do it. They just can't do too much of it. He also asked, I honestly think WWE Unreal is a bad idea. I get kayfabe is dead, but the fact that they were going to say everything that we, the audience, are about to see is real, and then when we see it, it feels so staged and so fake that it really sticks in my craw, a la the I Show Speed in the Rumble. It's not killing the business, I just think it's incredibly stupid. What do you think of Unreal? Do you think it feels more fake than real? And do you think it's just a vehicle for Triple H to be at the center at? I can't comment on the whole show. I've only seen one episode still. I'm going to watch more soon and do a review because you guys voted in that poll on the channel. Overwhelmingly, yes, you guys do want to see me do a review of the show, a formal review, which I will on the channel in the next week or two, hopefully. Hopefully before that, once I finish it. I like the show. Everyone I spoke to about it really liked the show. The whole kayfabe is dead thing, I don't give a fuck. It doesn't bother me at all. I think it's interesting to see the behind-the-scenes stuff of people like working on match times and stuff. It's more interesting for non-fans, honestly, than it is for fans. But I still think the show is good. Is it more fake than real? Probably. I mean, I haven't watched all of it to say, but I have seen clips, and a lot of it seems rehearsed or staged. And obviously, with it being a WWE production, they're showing you what they want to show you. You know, like they're showing you what they want you to see. And some of the stuff they don't want you to see, they're not going to put in there. Whatever makes them look bad, they're not going to put in. Obviously. And was it just a vehicle for Triple H to be at the center of? Of course. Obviously. That is also an overwhelmingly yes. In his last question here, we'll go back to the I'll go back to the chat and come back to the questions in a moment. But his last question was, Who do you think is the more capable female wrestler? Timeless Toni Storm or Stephanie Vaquer? Both have auras, both pop the crowd huge, both charismatic in their own rights. Who is your choice? More complete? Obviously Toni Storm. I like Stephanie more. I think Toni's great, though. She obviously can talk a lot better than Stephanie because Stephanie's English is still improving. For that literal reason alone, it's got to be Toni. She has just an amazing character currently that's extremely over. Would it work in WWE? I would probably say yes. Stephanie, she doesn't really have a character, but she's just herself, and that's enough. They're both equally great in the ring, but Toni can talk, and Stephanie currently, not that she can't talk, but Toni has that way. She has that, down way better than Stephanie does. So for that reason alone, I'll go with Toni Storm. Let's go back to the chat here, and I will answer the rest of these questions in a few minutes. Maria said, have you ever had talent stay in character while in an interview, and did it throw you off your game? Yes, it happens a lot, actually, including in person, and it's like, well, what do I ask this person? And sometimes it's funny. Dominic in our first interview was in character. I mean, he kind of was in our second interview, too, but specifically the first one, but it was fun because we did the whole, like, oh, you were in jail thing, and it made for a fun interview. But sometimes when they're in character, it doesn't make for the most interesting interview, so it's difficult. That actually happens a lot more than you would think. Noob said, for the third straight time in a row on Raw, we got a backstage segment between Asuka and Io Sky, and the second time she mentioned Rhea Ripley as Io's friend. Are we getting a heel turn from Asuka? We should. I hope so. They're not doing anything else with her, so why not? How about Team Solo versus Team Jacob in War Games? Fucking absolutely not. Who would even join Team Jacob? And honestly, like, who cares? I mean, if they want to do it, like, later this month, then sure. If we're waiting until Survivor Series to do it, bro, that means that they're going to be feuding for another 3 months. 3.5 months, almost 4 months. That's ridiculous. So, no thanks. Daniel said, it's always funny to see people vocal about disdain for Bubba and no one ever speaks foul of Devon. Yeah, I mean, Devon's a good dude. I've never interviewed him, but I've met him once, and he was a really nice guy. Richie said, Hugh Jackman versus Minoru Suzuki. That would put butts in the seats. I'll tell you that much. Cena should put over Dominic, Johnny said. I would be fine with that. I don't think he will, but I'd be fine with that. Who are wrestlers that you want to see release a book, Johnny asked. Cody Rhodes would be interesting, just given all that he's experienced. I mean, how honest are these people going to be? That's kind of the question here. Punk, I would love to read. I think a Punk book would be fucking awesome. I'll go Punk. Punk is number one for me. Regal actually wrote a book many years ago, so I would rather read a book from Regal that was newer. But definitely Punk is number one for me. Noob said, Travis Scott definitely ruined WrestleMania 41. He ruined the main event, I'll tell you that much. Johnny asked, what is your favorite Brock Lesnar match? Him and Punk from SummerSlam 2013. Amazing match. Gotta be my number one. Daniel said, there are so many clips from Unreal of Travis Scott saying he's hooked on wrestling now and wants to start training, only from allegedly flake on the whole thing, LMAO. That doesn't surprise me at all. That does not surprise me at all. Johnny said, I dislike that Triple H and Tony Khan try to put everyone on the PLEs and PLEs and pay-per-views. Yeah, just not everyone needs to be on them. You're going to get people complaining, oh, why is this person not on? Why is that person not on? LA Knight, like, oh, why is he not on? What the fuck would he do? Not everyone can be on the show. Like, I'm sorry. And then you put these people on, and it's like, well, that match was mid. Well, what do you expect? Because it was forced. Richie said, the Tribal Thief is better than anything that came out from the Death Riders. I agree. The Tribal Thief thing, the Shula Fala, is fucking hilarious. I agree, Richie. He says it's so damn good. Johnny with a couple questions here, a couple comments. He said, hopefully we get Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin in a hardcore match. Moxley bleeding and Darby taking bad bumps. I mean, they've already had a couple hardcore matches, and it's inevitable, so be prepared for that. Has Darby Allin outdone Mick Foley and Jeff Hardy in recklessness? Yeah, probably. I think Mick Foley has done more damage to his body because he's a bigger guy, and it's going to hurt a lot more for him to get hurt than Darby, who's like smaller and can take the abuse clearly. Darby's done dumber shit, but Mick Foley is his spots will always be far more memorable, and Darby's also just far more reckless than Jeff Hardy included. Johnny said Jeff Jarrett had a reign of terror in TNA. Exactly. Yeah. Daniel, RJ and I quote that all the time from the WCW DVD from like 15 years ago. where the favorite quote about Jeff Jarrett is, I think it's from Eddie Graham, who passed away many years ago, but he said, smashed 1,000 guitars, never drew a dime. And it's like that shot of Jeff Jarrett taking the mask off his face. It's so fucking funny. It's priceless. It's a great clip. It's probably on YouTube. It's from that WCW DVD that WWE did like 15 years ago, like I said. So I still think of that quote too. RJ and I joke about that all the time. Never drew a dime. Richie said, I still to this day cannot understand how Travis Scott wasn't blacklisted after the people who died at Astroworld in 2021, some who were children, mind you, and how little the accountability he took for it. Yeah, exactly. And Richie also said, the man was warned about the overcapacity of the crowd, and he kept performing for another 30 minutes, even after members of the crowd got trampled on in the crowd. Yeah, that shit was crazy. I remember that. For that, I will forever hate Travis Scott. That's always the first thing I think of when I hear his name. Guy's a fucking idiot. Fresh Fly said, still alive. This is awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in. I think Jimmy Uso will take the title off of Solo. God, no, that would be awful. That's even worse than Solo being champion. I like Jimmy, but no thanks. That's going to be a no for me, dog. Fresh Fly said, will you be seeing Freakier Friday on Friday? And did you see the popcorn buckets and cups? It's reversed. I thought that was cool. That is awesome. I did see the video of that when I was away. That is very cool. Like, so the soda is in like a popcorn bucket and the popcorn is in like what looks like a soda cup. It's really cool. I'm not seeing it on Friday. I'll probably see it next week, though. I am going to see the movie, though. I don't know how good it's going to be, but I will be seeing it probably next Tuesday on $5 Tuesday. Fernando asked, how many SummerSlams have you been to live? I've been to now 7, which is insane. I went to my first WWE PLE, not even my first SummerSlam. My first SummerSlam was my first WWE pay-per-view because they didn't really do many pay-per-views here in the Northeast. And when they were here in the Northeast, they were always on Sundays. They were always on school nights, so I could never go. But they weren't in Connecticut. They never really came to Connecticut for pay-per-views until Money in the Bank 2019, and they haven't been back for a pay-per-view since. They've done NXT shows here, NXT PLEs, but they haven't done a WWE pay-per-view here since then. Since they did one in 2004, I want to say, and then they came back in 2019, and that was the last one. But anyway, although they almost did Evolution here this year, and I think they changed plans, reportedly. But anyway, what was I going to say? So, yeah, SummerSlam 2015, they came to Barclays Center. And that was like, oh, I got to go. That's the closest they're going to come. I didn't have a car at that point, but I'm like, I'm definitely going to go. I could take the train in. That'd be awesome. I went to both TakeOver that weekend and SummerSlam. I went back and forth 2 nights in a row. I was fucking exhausted, but it was so worth it. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun. The travel back and forth from Barclays is tough. I have not been back. I went to a Survivor Series there in 2021. I think Richie was there, actually. I think I saw you there, Richie. I think. Maybe not. I saw you around that time. I feel like I saw you there as well. Maybe not. But anyway, I had not been back there since I went back on Monday for Raw. It's because the travel back and forth for me is just tough. But it was fun. So anyway, I went to my first SummerSlam 10 years ago in 2015. That was my first WWE pay-per-view. I went back the following year because they were back at Barclays then. I could not go in 2017. I was away in 2017. And in 2018, I could have gone. The product was so fucking bad in 2018. I said, I'm not going to SummerSlam. I'd rather just go to Smack. Because I would have had to take the day off from work. And I was like, I don't really want to. Like, this isn't worth it. SummerSlam looks like it's going to suck. So I ended up just going to the SmackDown after SummerSlam instead at Barclays. And that was a good show. I made the right choice. So I went to SummerSlam 2015, 2016. Would have gone in 2020 because it was supposed to be in Boston. COVID happened, so I got canceled. So then when I started doing the media stuff with WWE, I got invited in 2021 in Vegas, a super last-minute trip. They asked me last minute. I booked the show. I booked my trip there within fucking 5 days of leaving. It was insane. So worth it. One of my favorite trips I've ever taken. It was great. And then I went the following year in Nashville with RJ. RJ also joined me in 2023 in Detroit. I went last year to Cleveland with Alexis, and then I flew solo this year to New Jersey. So 7. 2015, 2016, and then every year since 2021. And then I'll probably be there next year in Minnesota as well. Let's see. Basically, well, talking about the popcorn thing, I already answered this, but Fresh Fly said, basically the cup of the Freakier Friday thing, basically the cup is the popcorn bucket and the popcorn is the soda. It's very cool, I agree. You could find a video on Twitter or TikTok. Johnny said, just know that Cody and Punk can't discuss their time in AW in their books, but I still think the books would be great. Ooh, interesting question, Fernando. Who would you like to be a ghostwriter for? I don't know. Anyone that would want me to do it. Punk would be fascinating, though, I'll tell you that much. Really, anyone. Maybe not Vince or Brock, but most other people. Daniel Malcolm said, side note, got around to watching Happy Gilmore 2. Gotta say I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would, though I still can't believe what they did in 5 minutes, or what they did 5 minutes in, LOL. Yeah, I know, that surprised me too. I won't spoil it here for those that haven't seen it yet. The movie's not, like, good. Like, would I say the movie's, like, a good movie? No. I enjoyed it, though, because I loved the first one. So many callbacks to the first one, which kind of got excessive. Way too many cameos, and a lot of stupid humor. But I still liked it, and I still enjoyed it. Would I call it a good movie? No. It was definitely not a good movie. But I did enjoy it. I had fun with it for what it was. And I love the ending. I love the little... There's a lot of nods to the first one, but specifically the last nod that they do to the first one at the end of the movie, I thought was great. And they do a lot of references to the people who passed away in real life. Johnny said, shoe on a pole match, Roman versus Reed with Vince Russo as referee. I would like to see Roman versus Reed in Australia. Not shoe on a pole match, but I would like to see Roman and Reed in Australia. Fresh Fly, hot Cheetos or Doritos? I like both. I don't love either one. I never really eat Doritos or Cheetos, but I like Cheetos more, so let's go Cheetos. Hot Cheetos, I don't know, but we'll go Cheetos. Johnny said, what are some of Brock's matches that you like from his first time in WWE? From 02 to 04, him and Rock is probably my favorite from SummerSlam 02. I fucking love that show. That was an awesome match and one of his best matches ever. His Mania match with Kurt Angle is great. I don't know if I've ever seen the Iron Man match with Kurt Angle and Brock on SmackDown in its entirety. I got to go back and watch that at some point. But their Mania match, that was very good. The Goldberg match in 04 obviously sucked. The Eddie match is good. I haven't seen it a ton, but it's obviously a good match. You know what, actually, one of my favorite Brock matches, also from that run, I'd put Rock at number 1, but at a very close number 2, him and Taker inside Hell in the Cell, No Mercy 02. That's also an amazing match. So honestly, those are my top 2 Brock matches from that period. Richie said, Jeff Jarrett quit art school and became a wrestler because he couldn't draw a dime. That's funny. Fresh Fly said, what was Dominic Mysterio like after the interview, and did you get him to sign your belt? So we didn't have a whole lot of time to talk after the interview was over because he had to immediately go into doing more interviews for Chase, the Chase Freedom. That's why we spoke. We did it to promote that. They were the ones that set it up. He was doing all of his interviews that day over Zoom. So he went, like, someone put a laptop right in front of his face and he got into it. But while they were setting it up, we were just like, I said, I really appreciate the time, man. I said, Van Helsing might be worth a rewatch. And then he goes, well, because it's great. And we just kind of bantered about it, and we were laughing about it. He was out of character beforehand and afterward. He was, he was just chill. Like, yeah, man, no problem. Like, no worries for doing the interview. Don't want to mess up his, his image. I don't want to mess with his image by telling you he's a nice guy, but he is a cool dude. Did I get him to sign the belt? No, I did not. Because I did not bring the belt with me. I thought it would be over Zoom. When I got to the hotel to do the other interviews, I was told at that point, I knew at that point, I thought at that point it would be over Zoom because it was supposed to be. And like I said earlier, it switched halfway through. So I didn't have the belt with me. Would I have brought the belt with me if I knew that I was talking to him in person? Still probably not. Because we had so few, like literally as soon as we were done with my interview, they put the next interview right in front of him, and then he had to get going. Like, we had enough time to do a selfie, and even that I felt kind of bad doing because they had very limited time with his schedule. He had to go off and do appearances and shit. For me to pull out the belt, if I pulled it out during the interview and then joked about how his signature wasn't on there, that would have been cool. But I did not bring the belt with me. I did not do that. That would have been a good idea. And I feel like at this point, I'll get him to sign it when I pay for it. When I pay for it at one of the WWE World things. I met AJ Styles this week, and you guys saw the short that I put up here on the channel. That was awesome. He was funny when I showed him it, and he was like, "Where the fuck do I sign?" He didn't say that because he doesn't swear, but he was in disbelief. You can watch the video and see his reaction. But I paid for that AJ Styles one. I will pay for anyone that I have to. I don't really give a shit. I don't really care about getting free autographs. You know what I mean? But I'll get Dom at some point. I almost got him this weekend. I almost paid for him separately, but I saw AJ was cheaper, and I love AJ Styles, so I'm like, oh, I'll just get AJ for right now. I'll get Dominic down the road. So I have 60 signatures on it as it is, 60 former IC champions, and 17 or 16 left to go. Like champions that I don't have. And that includes people who work for the company, like Dom, like Drew, people that I can get at these pay-per-views if they continue to do signatures at the shows. So, yeah, at some point I will get Dom. I did not get him when I talked to him, although that would have been cool. What has been the best food that you had at the wrestling shows? In catering, like the press box catering. I'm a chicken tenders guy, so honestly, any chicken sandwiches. They did have, what was it called? Philly cheesesteak and Mania in Philly last year, which was funny for night 1 or night 2. That was actually really good. The catering for night 2 that I was at this year was great. They had like pulled pork and barbecue chicken. That was great. I couldn't tell you where had the best catering, but they've all had great food for the most part. Honestly, just basic burgers and chicken tenders and shit are just good with me. But all the stadiums have great food. I'll tell you that much. When they have food, which they usually do. Richie said, Jinder Mahal versus Shinsuke Nakamura is my favorite SummerSlam match. Kidding, he said. I almost banned you for that comment, Richie. Maria said, should WWE hire a personal spokesperson to handle WWE or to handle PR for WWE? Because obviously he can't handle it. I agree, they should, because his PR is fucking awful. He just doesn't know how to answer questions. He doesn't prep for things. He gives bad answers every single time. How many cameos will be in Happy Gilmore 3 and 4? If they had like 75 in this one, I can only imagine. Do not make more movies, obviously. Please, no. But it would probably be double or triple threat. It'd probably be double or triple that. Freshfly said, favorite Brock Lesnar match from his second run. I like Brock versus Rey Mysterio from Survivor Series 2019. That is a fun match. I have way more favorite Brock matches from the second run just because it's lasted a lot longer. But the Punk match at SummerSlam 2013, the John Cena match at Extreme Rules 2012. The Samoa Joe match was fun. Not my favorite, but that one was fun from Great Balls of Fire 2017. The Goldberg match at WrestleMania 33 was great. Short but sweet. I like that match a lot. Him and Taker and said Hell in the Cell 2015, I thought was a very good Hell in the Cell match. I thought that was great, honestly. Him and Roman, either Mania 31 or SummerSlam 2022. I was there for that last one. That match was awesome. That might be among my favorites for sure. The first one's also fantastic from 2015. I'm trying to think of what else. Him and Rollins was a good one from SummerSlam 2019. That's kind of underrated in my opinion. The Bobby matches were good, but never really got out of first gear. He's had so many matches, man. The Dean Ambrose match was kind of underwhelming. I liked it at the time, but it was kind of underwhelming. Trying to think of what that 4-way from SummerSlam 2017 with Strowman, Joe, and who else was in there? Strowman, Joe, and Reigns. It was a great fatal 4-way. Very good match. The Rey match was good, like you said. The Finn Balor match was good. Oh, how could I forget the AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan matches from Survivor Series 2017 and 2018. 2 awesome matches. I would go the AJ match first and then the Daniel Bryan match, but both of those matches slapped. So, a lot of great matches during the second run from Brock. Maria said, if you had an opportunity to interview Vince McMahon and were able to ask him anything you wanted, including about the criminal SA charges, would you do it? Yes. If I could ask him about that, then absolutely. If I can't ask him about it, then probably we'd have to have a conversation. But if I can't ask him anything I want, he'd give a lot of dumb answers, sure. But yeah, definitely yes. And I wouldn't do it just to give him a platform. I would do it just to see how he would respond. Johnny said, how many WCW and ECW matches have you seen of Rey Mysterio? Not many. I've seen his Halloween Havoc with Eddie Guerrero. I've probably seen more WCW matches with him, but I just can't remember. Definitely the Halloween Havoc match with Eddie. ECW, I don't know. I have not seen many matches of his in either promotion. Maria said, who was the very first interview that you conducted and were you nervous? It was an indie wrestler named Bold Dread, I believe. This would have been back in December of 2011. It was over the phone. It was on a podcast they had at the time called Spoilers. It was tough. I was very nervous, and it was fine. Like I listened back now, and it was terrible. It's here on the channel, but it was completely over the phone. And we did our show on Thursdays back then. I don't know why we continue doing it on Thursdays, because the Thursday that it fell on right after Christmas that year, I was at like a Jeff Dunham show. So I had to call into my own radio show on the way home, and I lost fucking service. So thankfully, my co-host continued to do the interview without me. Thank God. He finished the interview and had a good time with him. But I was so like, oh my God, are you serious? This is the worst time to lose service. I was so like upset. Tried to call back in, wasn't working, blah, blah, blah. That was awesome. But yeah, I think that was the first interview the first like formal wrestling interview I ever conducted would have been that one. I may have done more before that. I did a few over email that ended up in article form for Bleacher Report, but my first like interview over the phone, I think would have been that guy Bull Dread from late 2011. Actually, no. That one, technically my first interview was with Tommy Dreamer. I met him at an indie show. I met him a few times, so he knew me by this point. He still knows me today. But he was at a show, and I asked him if he wanted to be on my YouTube channel, which I was just starting. He was the WrestleRant channel that you're seeing here now. Again, this is also here on the channel, but I asked him to be on. I interviewed him, quote unquote, for like a minute, and that video is on here now. So technically my first interview was a couple of weeks before that one, back in December of 2011. And I was very nervous. I'm still nervous now, but especially back then. Do you have a favorite WCW Cruiserweight match? Probably Ray and Eddie. I'm sure there's more I've seen, but definitely that one. Maria said, do you think AJ is retiring next year or leave WWE or elsewhere? I do think AJ Styles retires next year, in my opinion. I feel like he'll leave when this current contract is over. Hope I'm wrong. Wouldn't even mind if he went somewhere else. I do think he's done, though. Johnny said, Popeye's got the best chicken sandwich. They got a great chicken sandwich. Five Guys got the best burger. They got a great burger. Any food that you love from the concession stands, not catering. It's all the same. I feel like all the food stand food from any stadium or show that I've been to is all the same. I will say, I think here in Hartford and Connecticut, they have Chick-fil-A, which is great. I don't know if I got it, though. I want to say I've gotten it. Maybe not. I don't remember. But Chick-fil-A is awesome. So maybe that might be the best one. I'm trying to think of what else. All the other, like, stadium food, like the $30 chicken tenders, like the chicken tenders here in fucking Barclays, they're all exactly the same, bro. They're all exactly the same. So, I like chicken tenders. That's usually my go-to from all these places. Chick-fil-A or Buffalo Wings? Chick-fil-A. Buffalo Wild Wings? Is that what you're asking me? B-dub-dubs? I would still go Chick-fil-A, although Buffalo Wild Wings is great. Chick-fil-A is quick and it's just easier. And it's honestly tough. I might go B-dub-dubs, but Chick-fil-A is great. Richie said, Lesnar's string of Survivor Series matches with Bryan, Styles, and Ray were a lot of fun. Yeah, Brock put together a lot of great Survivor Series matches, to be fair. Maria also asked, mozzarella sticks or cheese bread? Oh, it's tough. If I had a choice, I had cheese bread recently, cheese garlic bread. I'll go mozzarella sticks. I feel like I don't get them enough, but I should. I'll go mozz sticks. Richie said, there we go. Fresh Flies said, have you ever had Shake Shack? Yes, a lot. I've had it in New York. I've had it in Vegas, actually, a few times. I've had it at airports. I love Shake Shack. Shake Shack is great, bro. I don't have it a lot because I'm not near a Shake Shack, but I've had it enough where I fucking love Shake Shack. I think Shake Shack is great. Yes, Alexis, I am still alive. And yes, Richie, we are waiting for Tyreek. And she's here, so I guess we've got our question. Grunt said, anything booked for tonight's Dynamite that catches your eye? What is on the card for Dynamite tonight? Let me check. We're also not done with the questions, by the way. So to answer like Alexis's question about, are we done yet? No, we're not fucking done yet. We had a lot of questions. It was a busy week. We're catching up on a lot here. And I appreciate you guys sticking with me today, even though we're going live on a Wednesday instead of a Tuesday. Let's see. So I'm looking at the lineup a little bit for tonight. I'm looking forward to MJF and Briscoe because they've been feuding. Is this we're getting another women's four-way? Who cares? I mean, the match should be good, but like we get it so fucking often. Bro, it's just like, I don't care. We get so many four-ways in WWE and AEW, I just don't give a fuck at this point. I'll forget about it in a week. But that should be good. MJF and Briscoe I like. The Mercedes Moné thing I don't give a shit about. Oh, 8 belts, who gives a shit? And then Young Bucks versus Bro Dito, that should be good. I really think the Young Bucks should have lost to the Outrunners last week, in my opinion. I really feel like the Outrunners should have won that. But still, that should be a good match tonight. All right, let's see. Fresh Fly, thank you for the $5 super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I love that. He said, keep up the great work, and we appreciate all the content that you bring to the channel. Thank you so much, Fresh Fly, for saying that. I appreciate that. I try to bring as much content, much quality content as we can here to the channel. And as far as stuff you guys can look forward to going forward, like I said yesterday in that post, I switched today's video with yesterday's, or what was supposed to be today. So the hashtag GSM for GM video, the 2K25 gameplay went up yesterday instead of today. So this is going up today. We will be live again tomorrow, myself and Mr. Marceau. So keep an eye out for that. I believe he texted me about that. So we will be live tomorrow for the show. Friday and Saturday, you'll likely see excerpts from that show coming onto the channel. And you'll also get the other interviews that I filmed over SummerSlam weekend. So that includes my interview with Braun Breaker, which I did not think was great. But you'll get that at some point soon. And Alexa Bliss. And all the other interviews. I have so many other interviews I've like run elsewhere for like Bleach Report and stuff that I have not run here on the channel. I just haven't had a chance to publish them. And I have a bit more time now, so I'm going to try to do, I'm better organized with stuff. Like I'm caught up on a lot of stuff. So I'm going to try to put up more interviews that I haven't published yet, whether it be from a few years ago or recently, whatever, that you guys can check out and enjoy. So, yeah, at least coming soon will be the Braun Breaker one and the Alexa Bliss interview. Maria said, would you ever write a book of your own about your days at Bleach Report and your experience interviewing wrestlers? Yes, I would. I would probably do it more than just about that. I just think writing a book in general has been a long goal of mine, regardless of what it's about. It'd probably be like an autobiography type of thing. I feel like saying autobiography sounds weird because I'm not important, but something along those lines would be something I'm interested in. I don't know when that would be, but yes, 1,000%. Johnny said lasagna or mac and cheese. Not a big lasagna fan, so totally mac and cheese. Maria said lemon pepper or garlic parmesan. Again, not a lemon pepper fan. I love the garlic parmesan, so 1,000% on that. Grunt says he agrees with the Outrunners going over. Johnny, 2 more questions here. He says, sweet potato pie or apple pie? I don't like either kinds of pie, unless it's like an ice cream pie or something dumb like that. I'm not a big sweet potato pie fan or an apple pie fan. If I had to eat either one, probably apple pie. And then the other one this question I can get behind, Oreo or Chips Ahoy? Totally Oreo. Chips Ahoy are great. I've liked Chips Ahoy my entire life, but I haven't had a whole lot of Chips Ahoy in the last like fucking 20 years, so I'll go Oreo. I can always go for a classic Oreo, so Oreo all the way. All right, if you guys have any more comments or questions, be sure to send them in here. I will get to them in a little bit as we answer more of these scheduled questions. We'll go through the scheduled questions, wrap up with the chat, and head on out of here as we are closing in on almost 3 hours. We're at 2 hours and 40 minutes. That's a long time. I have more to do and more to catch up on, so let's head on out after that. Let's see. At Billmeister88 from Twitter. Did WWE swerve the press conference for SummerSlam as they knew the questions around Brock Lesnar returning would come up? Yes, I said this earlier, but you cannot convince me that they canceled the press conference for any other reason than to avoid questions about Brock Lesnar. You can't convince me, because why would they do it now and not at Mania or Money in the Bank or Evolution? They stopped doing them for this weekend specifically because they didn't want to take accountability for what they did. If they don't care about how people feel about it, that's fine. Have the balls to tell me that, though. You know, like at least with like Dana White, he'll go on his press conferences and say, I don't give a fuck what you guys think. I'm going to do it anyway. I respect that. Triple H taking the coward way out and having to avoid the question by canceling the press conference is fucking bullshit. That is garbage. So yes, that is totally why they stopped doing them. And it's unfortunate. And like I said earlier, A lot of dumb questions were asked of those things. It was inevitable they would get canceled anyway. I'm not completely broken up on it, but for the people that would try to ask actual questions, I think myself included a lot of the time, it's a bummer because that was their one opportunity to ask questions to have an opportunity to ask questions that we wouldn't be able to ask otherwise about real stuff and stuff that actually matters when there is actual stuff to discuss. And then they stopped doing it. Why do you think that is? Why would they stop doing it now and not like when the Vince lawsuit happened a year and a half ago? Isn't that weird? Why now? So strange. At Chris Wolf, 66965 from Twitter. Worst championship reign, Moxley in 2024-2025 or Jinder Mahal in 2017? Honestly, that's a good question. The Moxley run sucked. I think it's the worst run in AEW history, world title run. And I know Punk had 2 runs that were like a day long each, which I'm not counting those, obviously. But Moxley's was bad because it really hurt the product when he was champion for the most part. I'm still going to go Jinder, though. At least Moxley's matches, some of the endings were awful. And his matches were still a lot weaker than a lot of the other world championship matches in the company's history. But Jinder's matches weren't awful, but it ended up meaning nothing. Like, they put him over for so long, and he went right back to the mid-card and fired years after that. Like, what was even the point of him being champion for so long? They buried Shinsuke during that period. They elevated no one. AJ got the belt back that he should have never lost in the first place earlier that year in 2017. What was the point of the Jinder run? He killed SmackDown for like 6 months. So he also hurt the product as much as the Death Riders did when Moxley was champion for as long as he was. And the payoff to both runs was great. Moxley losing to Adam Page and Jinder losing to AJ Styles on SmackDown. I would still go to Jinder as far as the worst run because at least Moxley's an established guy. That Jinder run was a complete waste of time and accomplished nothing. It didn't even elevate the guy that was holding it, which is the funniest part. Permanently, anyway. Last few questions here. At Iwagu91 from Twitter, do you see CM Punk or Sami Zayn winning the Men's Royal Rumble match next year? I do. I still think Sami Zayn wins the Rumble. Punk I'd be fine with, but I don't really want to have Punk and Rollins at Mania. That's stretching it out a little too long to me. I think it should be Sami Zayn winning the Rumble in Saudi. Punk winning the Rumble in Saudi would be fucking hysterical for other reasons. But I think it is still Sami Zayn winning the Rumble, for sure. His second question, do you see MVP finalizing the decision on kicking out the malevolent jerk face out of the Hurt Syndicate? Talking about MJF. Yes, I do think MJF's out of the group. That was very short-lived. It's a very weird storyline. I don't know where they're going with this or what the point of it even was. He tried so hard to be a part of it, and he was only a part of it for like a month or two. I don't know. It's very weird, man. But regardless, yes, I do think that decision is final. Third question, do you think that Kevin Nash's thoughts on Raquel Rodriguez made her improve in the ring as of late? P.S. This Saturday is me and Alexa Bliss's birthday. Well, happy birthday at Iwagu91. Happy early birthday to you and Alexa Bliss both. Yeah, I honestly do. I do think Kevin Nash's comments actually helped Raquel improve in the ring. I do. I was not expecting that, but I did not have that on my 2025 bingo card, but I do think his criticism actually helped her improve. So good for her. Her match has been better. Her dynamic with Roxanne is actually a lot better than the dynamic that she had with Liv, which is kind of crazy because she and Liv worked really well together. I think she and Roxanne are actually a better team. So yeah, God bless Kevin Nash and God bless Roxanne for taking criticism so well. Last two questions here. At millennial_noob. Is it just me or am I not the only... This question made no sense, but I'll read it anyway. He said, is it just me or I'm not the only one seeing another Americano variant tonight? ? Because we're getting a WWE version of the Spider-Verse because I've seen way too many superhero variants in comic books. I don't want too many variants of a wrestler too. I don't know what the fuck you just said, Millennial Noob, to be honest with you. I know we got more than one Americano on Raw this week. We got like 3 of them. I think that's what you're referring to. I don't know where they're going with that. It's a waste of New Catch Republic of Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne, who are totally the ones under the mask, by the way. But yeah, I don't even know what your question is, so I can't really answer that. But we have a lot of variants. Variants would imply that they're from different multiverses. These 3 are not from different multiverses. There's just different people under the masks. So let's just say that. And his last question, what are your thoughts on SummerSlam as a 2-night show? As much as I like it, I believe the 2-night formula needs to stay at WrestleMania. And on the other big PLE shows like the Rumble, Survivor Series, and I mentioned SummerSlam, keep it 1 night. I agree. I think Mania as a two-night show works. I've said that before. I wasn't in favor of that all those years ago. But since they started doing it, I like that a lot more. No other show should be two nights but WrestleMania. It takes away from Mania, makes SummerSlam less special. SummerSlam was certainly watered down by the amount of matches they did this weekend and matches that just simply did not belong on the card. Keep it to just stronger matches. Not everything needs to be on a PLE, I'm sorry. But yeah, I would keep it to one night. Keep all the other shows to one night too. But you know it's inevitable they'll expand it to two nights. They're going to keep SummerSlam at two nights. We already know that. Next year's show is at two nights. We already know the Rumble and Survivor Series will also be two nights at some point because they want more money. So I would not be surprised in the slightest to see that happen in the not-too-distant future. All right, back to the chat here before we head on out of here. French fries or onion rings? Onion rings are good, Johnny. I'm going French fries. Always a big Funyuns fan as a kid. Maria said, "Does Roman Reigns take too much time off?" Yeah, but I mean, he's just a part-timer, so that's what it is. So I just expect it at this point. Johnny said, "Who should win between Swerve and Okada at Forbidden Door?" I don't know. I feel like Swerve needs a big singles win. I'll go Okada. I feel like Okada unifying the belts only to lose a month later would be kind of weird. So I'm going to go Okada. I feel like you should probably hold on to all the belts for a little while longer. Do you think Hangman versus MJF main event Forbidden Door? No, actually. I think Hangman versus Mark Briscoe is going to main event Forbidden Door. I wouldn't have MJF and Mercedes Moné cash in both of their title opportunities on the exact same show. Why would MJF do that when he could just cash in at any point, any time? That would just be like a waste. Grunt said, "Have you given the Outrunners a new theme? Have you given their new theme Afterburn a listen? It might be my favorite song that Ruckus has ever composed for AEW. I have not listened to it on its own. I've heard it when they made their entrance. I've heard it's good. I mean, I don't really care for that type of music, the synthwave or whatever. I've heard it's good. I have no issue with their music. I just haven't listened to it like start to finish on Spotify or YouTube or whatever." Johnny said, "Who would you like Hiroshi Tanahashi to face a Forbidden Door?" I genuinely don't really care. Didn't they already announce his match or like tease it a while ago? I forgot what it was, but probably a tag team match because I don't know how much the guy can do at this stage of his career. Worst world title victory, Maria says. Vince McMahon or the guy from the Scream franchise? I mean, David Arquette, because people still talk about that. People don't talk about the Vince title when and say, "Oh, that killed WWE or that killed the world title." Vince being champion is obviously comical, but Vince was also the top heel in WWE, so it kind of almost made sense. And he only held it for like 5-6 days. David Arquette, God bless the guy, great dude. People still joke about that embarrassment of a title win 25 years later, so that's definitely the worst one. And he's not even like involved in wrestling. I mean, he's just a celebrity, so definitely that one. Johnny said, "How about MJF versus Bobby Lashley for the AEW World title later this year?" Sure, but would MJF cash in on Paige and then defend against Bobby? I guess. If that's the case, then sure, why not? Do you have a favorite Kevin Nash match? No. I thought the Triple H match they had at TLC 2011, I mean, I haven't really, in the time that I've been a fan, he hasn't had a lot of like amazing matches. I mean, even in TNA, I couldn't name one that I remember that was great. In the time that I was watching TNA, when he was there. In WWE, I mean, the Hell in a Cell match with Triple H wasn't great, I didn't think. I thought their Sledgehammer match, or whatever the fuck it was, or the ladder match, or whatever it was, I don't remember. In 2011, I thought that was good, actually. I enjoyed that match for what it was. Probably, maybe him and Shawn. I feel like they had a match for the title in 1996 that was great. Actually, any of his Bret Hart matches. Probably some of the Bret Hart matches. Maybe Survivor Series or the Rumble in 95. Probably one of those. I don't know if they're my favorite, but they're probably among his best. Chocolate chip ice cream or chocolate chip or cookies and cream? Isn't that basically the same thing? Probably chocolate chip ice cream, but cookies and cream. I'll go cookies and cream. I always liked that as a kid. El Grande Americano Battle Royal, Maria says. Oh, God. Yeah, there's just too many of them at this point. Best fast food milkshake, Johnny asked. I don't like fast food milkshakes. I'm just not a milkshake fan personally, so I can't answer that. Maria said, "Sorry if you asked this question. Does WWE hook you up with good hotel rooms, or do you have to get your own? No, I get my own. I mean, I get everything paid through the Bleacher Report and the outlet that I work for. WWE doesn't cover that stuff. The only stuff that WWE covers is the access to the shows and the talent in the press box. Like the hotels and planes and stuff, WWE doesn't pay for that. The company that you work for typically pays for it, or there's a lot of people that just pay their own way, which I've done before, like years ago. I haven't done that since, but since I started doing it a few years ago, I've always had it paid for me, but not by WWE. The only people they're paying for are their own fucking talent, which I am not. Fresh Fly said, what are you going to do with the rest of the day? Get work done, and then I'm going out later to go visit some friends that I have not seen in a while. Hang out with some friends tonight, get sushi, actually, which I'm looking forward to. But I have a lot of work to do in the meantime, when we're done here in a couple minutes. Still a lot of stuff to catch up on, but I'm not nearly as behind as I would be if I flew wherever to where I was going. Typically, when I have to fly to shows, I'm far more behind, and I'm usually a lot busier doing other stuff. But thankfully, SummerSlam weekend, I was busy, but not like every second of every day was busy, which was good. So I got lucky. I had a great weekend, and I still have some stuff to catch up on, and I'm tired, but I'm not nearly as backed up as I would have been. Like when I was at Mania, when I was backed up for like a few weeks. Usually I'm backed up for like a fucking month when I get back from shows. Thankfully, I don't want to jinx it, but I could be caught up with everything by like the weekend, if not before that, which would be amazing. Have you tried Popeye's fish sandwich? No. I wouldn't eat the fish sandwich. I like certain kinds of fish, but their fish sandwich, I wouldn't eat that. I wouldn't eat it from there or McDonald's. I wouldn't like that, I don't think. How do you feel about riding electric scooters for fun, and would you ever own one? Freshfly said. I would. Scooters? No, I might have terrible balance, so I would probably fall the fuck off. I've seen people. I was at a campsite recently, and people were, riding around on them. I'm too old for that now. I act like I'm 65, but even at 30, I feel like I would destroy I would fall off. I have no interest in riding one of those, but good question. Would I ever own one? No. Maria said, where would you rank MJF among current heels in all of wrestling? I feel like he's lost a lot of buzz, so I can't say he's number one. Top 5, maybe. Top 5, probably. Who are the top heels in wrestling? I just feel like Drew's great, but he's not doing a whole lot right now. Cena was terrible. I like Rollins. I don't know if he'd be number 1. Moxley sucked as the top heel. That just did not work at all. I know he's still a heel, but that just did not work at all. Yeah, I guess MJF might be number 1 through 3. I don't know who else would be above him. I mean, there's not a whole lot of great heels in wrestling right now, so I guess he would be in the top 3, if not number 1 or 2. She also asked, what's your favorite WCW match that you went back and have seen? Good question. I don't know. Probably Ray and Eddie, like I said earlier. Goldberg versus DDP, or is it DDP and Savage? Might be one of those, or Goldberg and Savage. I forgot what it was, but there was a couple Halloween Havoc matches I've seen that were actually pretty fucking great, that I've gone back and watched a few times, that are really, really good. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, probably any of the Halloween Havoc matches from like 97 through 99, or 96 through 98. I'm trying to think of other WCW matches I've gone back and watched. I had a WCW DVD I had at one point that I'd go back and watch a few times and watch for the matches. I remember watching Ray and Eddie the whole time, a few different times. Excuse me. I've seen moments from WCW, and I wish I was a WCW fan. Like I grew up in that era. I was too young. I couldn't have watched it back then, but I wish I grew up in that era. I said that recently when I was reading, not to cheap plug it, but when I was reading this book, this NWO book. It's so great, like the initial rise of the NWO. Now, the company was awful creatively from like after their downfall in 98 forward was awful, but I just feel like to be there for that initial rise and the long-term storytelling would have been exciting. That's what I feel like I really missed out on. Better Thanksgiving dish, Johnny asked. Turkey or ham? Totally turkey. I like ham. I like turkey a lot more. Are your fellow media peers good people, Maria asked. Yes, there's a lot of great people in media. I mean, you guys probably have seen or know a lot of them, but I've gotten to know a lot of people over the last number of years. Either people I've did not know ahead of time or people that I was already familiar with and I wasn't sure if they knew me. And not that I'm all that important, but I've been able to talk to Sean Ross Sapp a few different times at these shows, and he's always been really supportive and really cool and been able to like share and promote my stuff. They just shared an excerpt actually from the Dominic interview on Fightful the other day, which I really appreciate. Sean's a good dude. John Alba I caught up with. If you've seen him before, he worked with Sports Illustrated. He's a great guy. Chris Van Vliet, actually, I've gotten a chance to kind of know him a little bit. I interviewed him on WrestleRant Radio many years ago. I don't think he remembered that, but I kind of got reintroduced to him in person at a junket about a year or two ago. And now every time I see him at shows, he always comes up to me and says hi and remembers me every time. Like, he actually came up from behind me when we were at SummerSlam this past weekend, kind of tapped me from behind and was like, hey, how's it going? And like shook my hand to say hi. We didn't really have a chance to speak beyond that. But I appreciated that, especially someone like him who does not have to do that, being like the biggest wrestling media person there is. The fact he knows who I am and always says hi whenever I see him is really cool. So he's a good dude. Trying to think of who else. I mean, those are all people you guys know. But there's a lot of other people. Adrian, you guys have probably seen before. His name's Adrian Hernandez. He's a good guy. Rick Uccino. He's a great dude. I always get sushi with him every time I go to these events. Dominic D'Angelo. He's from Ad Free Shows. He's fantastic. He's a really nice guy. I've recently become friends with a gentleman named Michael Fairman. I've been on his show a few times. Really funny individual. He's a good guy. Scott Fishman from TV Insider. Really good dude. Become friends with him and his wife. There's honestly too many to name. If you know anyone in wrestling media, I have probably interacted with them. I have not interacted really at all with like a Denise, so I can't like comment on her. I mean, she works really hard. I'll tell you that. Queen of the Ring is very nice. She's a very nice individual. I've spoken with her a whole bunch. Gave her rides back from Mania last year when I had my car. I dropped her off at her hotel a bunch. Alexis and I both did. Phil Lindsay, he's also with Bleacher Report. He's fucking hilarious. Yeah, I've had good. I've met a lot of people, and I've been able to call a lot of them friends. So anyone that you can think of, I have probably interacted with at some point or another, or at least spoken to briefly. Maybe not. There's some people I've seen and never spoken to, and vice versa. But most people I have, and most people are very, very, very cool, which I appreciate. Kyle Fletcher, Don Callis, Dirty Dom, Blake Monroe. I don't know what you're referring to, Johnny, with that comment. You should watch the War Games matches WCW had. Maybe I will, Johnny. Maybe I will. Grunt said, honestly, if I was a team in the 90s, there's a strong chance based on the roster alone that I would have been a WCW guy at least between 96 and 98. Me too, Grunt. I was not, even watching it back, I'm not a big Attitude Era fan, so I probably would have been watching WCW. I would have been watching both, but I probably would have liked WCW more. What is your favorite NXT match? I was there for Andrade, Johnny Gargano, TakeOver Philly. Maybe that one. Actually, I take that back. My favorite NXT match is Sasha Banks and Bayley. TakeOver Brooklyn, 10 years ago this month. I was there. That match was amazing. Still one of my favorite matches of all time. Easily that one. And Maria's last question here. Heels. Johnny says, for best heels, Kyle. Don Callis is not one of the best heels, but he's a good heel. Dominic, yes. Blake Monroe, she's going to have to kind of regain some of the momentum from AEW, but yeah. Kyle Fletcher's good too. So yeah, I can agree with some of those. But Maria asked, when is the next Graham and Alexis stream coming? At some point soon. I'm sure you'll see her back on here. She always finds a way to be here on the show at some point. She usually works her way onto the stream, whether it be WrestleRant Radio or hashtag AskGSM or helping me rewatch his show. She will be back very soon, so keep an eye out for Alexis, absolutely. Freshfly said, where do you hope to be in 10 years? I hope to just be alive, brother. I have no fucking clue. It's always a weird question to answer, not just for me, but I never ask people that. I never know how to answer that because it's like, I don't know. Like, hopefully I'm fucking alive by then. I have such a low bar. I don't know. Hopefully I'm doing well. Like, if you had told me I'd be doing what I am now 10 years ago, I wouldn't have believed you. So I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. Hopefully just happy and healthy and alive and still doing what I'm doing now, even more so, and continuing to talk to you guys on this stream. We were still doing hashtag AskGSM 10 years ago, and we're still doing it today. How fucking crazy is that? It feels like this stream started 10 years ago, so I guess that makes sense. Johnny said, Johnny Gargano may have my top 5 NXT matches. And most of them that he was involved in, I was probably there for. Whether it was the Ciampa matches, the Cole matches, the Andrade matches, I was there for every single one of those, almost all of them. And that was when I was buying tickets to the shows and not even covering them. He's had a lot of amazing NXT matches. All right, guys, we're going to start wrapping up here. Thank you so much for tuning into a near 3-hour stream. 3 hours and 2 minutes in. This is a fucking long one today. But we had a lot to discuss, from SummerSlam weekend to Brock Lesnar to the WWE pay-per-view stuff, all of which I will talk more about more in detail tomorrow with Mr. Marceau, who I believe texted me earlier. We will be speaking at some point tomorrow on WrestleRant Radio. So we'll be live again in less than 24 hours. So if you want to continue the conversation, stay tuned for that. Hit the bell button on this channel to be notified every single time we go live and every single time we upload new content. You can also get shout-outs at the beginning and end of every single live stream that we do if you are a $5 a month WrestleRant All Access Pass channel member. You get top billing on shows like this and on WrestleRant Radio, access to badges and emojis and the live chats, early and ad-free access to certain videos, and so much more. More information down below in the comment box, in the description box, so check that out. But shout out to Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve 1, Daniel Malcolm, RJ Marceau, John Ritland, Richie, and Average Grunt. Thank you all for your fine support of the channel. I appreciate it. And that's about it. If you want to send in a comment, or a question rather, to the show for next week's episode, 611, we'll be back on Tuesdays next week. This Wednesday one was a one-off because I was busy this weekend and couldn't be available yesterday because I was just fucking busy and tired. I'm still tired, but I was way more tired yesterday. Yesterday would have been bad. If we did it yesterday, it would have been a lot later too. But anyway, we'll be back next Tuesday with more questions, so send them in ahead of time. Tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video, and I'll include your question in next week's edition. Johnny said you should do a tier list video on Johnny Gargano in NXT. Not a bad idea. Maybe not a tier list, but I could do like a video ranking my top 5 or top 10 favorite Johnny Gargano NXT matches, perhaps. That would be cool. Fresh Fly said today was a good stream. Thank you, Fresh Fly. I appreciate that. Thank you again for the $5 super chat. Really means a lot. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And Maria said, see you tomorrow. Yes, we will. We will see you tomorrow, Maria. Thank you again for joining us today. Thank you to Fresh Fly, Johnny, Grunt earlier, RJ made a quick cameo, Alexis, Richie, Daniel, everybody that joined today's stream. Really appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow, probably, if I had to take a guess, around noon Eastern time. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be live again tomorrow for WrestleRant Radio, talking a lot more SummerSlam, Brock Lesnar, WWE PLE's future, and so much more. So until next time, guys, I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Have an awesome rest of your week. Catch you right back here tomorrow on WrestleRant Radio, and I'll also catch your ass down the road.